Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto's Omnitrix was a divine Kekkei Genkai, Naruto x Kai Green, Ben 10. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Celestial Awakening. Naruto's breath fogged the bathroom mirror as he wiped away condensation with his palm. Morning light filtered through the small window, illuminating the unusual pattern spreading across his abdomen. The familiar spiral seal containing the 9 tails remained centered around his navel, but something new had appeared, intricate lines radiating outward like celestial bodies in orbit, geometric patterns that seemed to shift subtly even as he watched. "What the hell?" he muttered, tracing the unfamiliar markings with his fingertip. The lines felt warm beneath his touch, almost vibrating with potential energy. 3 days since these markings had first appeared, and they continued to expand with each passing night. The complex array of symbols bore no resemblance to any sealing tech he'd encountered during his training. Not even Jiraiya had seen anything like it during their years together. Naruto pulled his black t-shirt over his head and adjusted his orange jacket. At 17, he'd grown taller. His features sharper, his movements more deliberate. The childish desperation for acknowledgement had transformed into something deeper, a measured confidence born of hard-earned experience and genuine achievement. The streets of Konoha bustled with morning activity as he made his way toward the training grounds. Villagers nodded respectfully as he passed, a far cry from the cold glares of his childhood. After defeating Pain and helping end the Fourth Shinobi War, his reputation had fundamentally changed. Yet today, he barely registered their greetings, his mind fixed on the strange markings and the odd sensations that accompanied them. "Yo, Naruto," Hiba called from across the street, Akamaru padding alongside him. "Tsunade's looking for you, something about a mission briefing." Naruto waved acknowledgement but didn't change direction. "Tell her I'll be there by noon. Need to check something first." Hiba raised an eyebrow but didn't press. The war had changed them all, instilling a deeper respect for personal boundaries. Training Ground 3 offered the seclusion Naruto needed. The 3 wooden posts where Team 7 had first trained together stood sentinel at the edge of the clearing. Weathered by years of use, the memorial stone gleamed in the distance, a perpetual reminder of sacrifice. Naruto settled into a cross-legged position beneath a maple tree, closed his eyes, and focused on his breathing. The sensation of the new seal had been growing more insistent each day, a persistent hum beneath his skin that demanded attention. "Let's figure you out," he whispered, dropping into the meditative state that allowed him to access his internal chakra network. The familiar corridor materialized around him, water pooling at his feet. At the end of the passage, the 9 tails watched through the massive bars of its cage, 9 tails swishing lazily behind it. "Back so soon, Kit?" Kurama's voice rumbled through the chamber. "You've been visiting quite frequently." Naruto approached the cage. "Something's changing with the seal. Have you noticed?" The 9 tails' massive eyes narrowed. "It's not coming from me, if that's what you're asking. This is something else entirely." Quote, "What do you mean, something else?" "Your seal has always been complex, designed to contain me while allowing you to access my chakra. But this new development," Kurama's tails flicked with uncharacteristic agitation. "It's as though another power is integrating itself with the existing framework. Something ancient, something not of this world." Naruto frowned. "Not of this world. There are more dimensions than just this one, Kit. More forms of power than just chakra." Before Naruto could press further, a new sensation drew his attention. The water at his feet began to glow with an emerald light, and the walls of the corridor trembled slightly. "It's activating," Kurama growled. "Whatever it is, it's awakening." Naruto opened his eyes with a gasp, returning to the physical world. The markings on his abdomen burned through his clothing, emitting a soft green glow. Energy coursed through his veins, familiar yet distinctly different from chakra, more elemental, more primal. He stood, instinctively pressing his palm against the center of the pattern. The glow intensified, and knowledge flooded his consciousness, not in words but in pure understanding. Images flashed through his mind. Beings of incredible diversity, powers beyond imagination, transformations that defied the laws of nature. Transform, he whispered, the word emerging unbidden from his lips. Emerald light enveloped him, and Naruto felt his body changing. His muscles densified, his skin hardened into crystalline facets that refracted the morning sunlight into rainbow patterns across the clearing. Within seconds, where Naruto had stood now towered a humanoid figure composed entirely of green diamond-like crystal, taller and broader than his normal form. What the? His voice resonated differently. Deeper and with a subtle harmonic quality. He flexed crystalline fingers, marveling at how the world looked through faceted vision. Everything seemed sharper, more defined, as though he could perceive wavelengths beyond normal human sight. Experimentally, Naruto moved forward, discovering his new form possessed surprising agility despite its apparent weight. When he channeled chakra, the crystals comprising his body illuminated from within, storing and amplifying the energy. "This is incredible," he murmured, directing chakra to his arm and watching eye. In amazement as the limb transformed into a gleaming blade. A timer appeared in his consciousness, 10 minutes until the transformation would revert. The knowledge came instinctively, as though downloaded directly into his mind. Naruto approached one of the training posts and struck it with his crystalline fist. The thick wood shattered on impact, splinters spraying in all directions. He felt no pain, only a satisfying resonance through his transformed body. "I could get used to this," he grinned, though the expression manifested differently on his crystalline face. He spent the next several minutes testing his new form's capabilities, discovering he could shape his crystalline body into various weapons and tools, refract light into dazzling patterns, and even absorb certain types of energy. The durability was astounding. Kunai merely glanced off his surface, and fire jutsu seemed to energize rather than harm him. As the internal timer approached zero, Naruto felt the transformation beginning to fade. The green light enveloped him once more, and within moments he stood in his normal form, slightly disoriented but exhilarated. "That was," he began, but the words died in his throat. T as the seal on his abdomen pulsed with unprecedented intensity. Space itself seemed to warp around him, reality bending inward like fabric pulled by an unseen hand. The air crackled with electricity, and a swirling vortex of emerald energy materialized 3 meters away, expanding rapidly. Naruto dropped into a defensive stance, kunai appearing in his hand reflexively. What now? The portal stabilized, its edges shimmering with the same green energy that had facilitated his transformation. Through its center, Naruto glimpsed a world vastly different from his own, strange structures of unfamiliar design. Vehicles unlike any he'd seen, and a sky tinged with an alien hue. Then someone, came hurtling through the portal, tumbling across the grass before rolling into a practiced defensive crouch. A woman, young, perhaps his age or slightly older. Long black hair tied back in a practical braid, bronzed skin, and sharp, intelligent eyes that immediately assessed her surroundings with the practiced efficiency of a seasoned fighter. She wore close-fitting clothing of unfamiliar material, practical garments designed for mobility and protection rather than style, adorned with various tools and devices Naruto couldn't identify. Their eyes met across the clearing, and Naruto watched her expression transform from defensive wariness to absolute shock. "The Omnitrix," she breathed. Gaze locked on his abdomen where the seal pattern glowed beneath his shirt. "But that's impossible." Naruto didn't lower his kunai. "Who are you? How did you get here?" The woman rose slowly from her crouch, hands held visible in a universal gesture of non-aggression. "My name is Kai Green. And I think," she glanced at the rapidly shrinking portal behind her, "I'm a long way from home." The portal collapsed with a sound like thunder, leaving behind nothing but a scorched circle in the grass. The foreign woman, Kai, stared at the space where it had been, her expression cycling through disbelief, calculation, and grim acceptance with remarkable speed. "Great," she muttered, reaching for a device at her hip. "Dimensional displacement. Just what my week needed." Naruto studied her carefully. Despite her strange appearance and even stranger arrival, his instincts weren't registering her as a threat. There was something oddly familiar about the energy signature she emitted, not chakra, but something resonant with the power that had just transformed him. "You called it the Omnitrix," he said, finally lowering his weapon. "You know what this is?" He gestured toward his abdomen. Kai's attention snapped back to him, eyes narrowing as she studied the partially visible markings. I know what it looks like, but it can't be the actual Omnitrix. That's... She paused, recalibrating her thoughts. What did you just transform into? Before I came through, some kind of crystal being. Petrosapian, she corrected automatically. Diamond Head, as Ben calls it. She took a cautious step forward. May I? Naruto hesitated, then nodded, lifting his shirt to reveal the complete pattern. Kai approached slowly, studying the markings with the focused attention of an expert. It's similar, but different, she murmured, kneeling to examine the seal more closely without touching it. The Omnitrix I know is a device, technology created by an alien genius named Azimuth. But this, her fingers hovered just above his skin. This appears to be integrated directly into your biological system. Like it's part of you. It is, Naruto confirmed. Or at least, part of it is. The SP. Iral in the center is the 8 trigrams seal that contains Kurama, the 9-tailed fox. These other markings just started appearing a few days ago. Kai blinked, processing this information. 9-tailed fox. You have a creature sealed inside you. It's complicated. I bet, she said, standing and taking a step back. Look, I don't know how I got here or why, but that portal was definitely triggered by your transformation. The energy signature is identical to certain dimensional rifts I've studied. She glanced around the clearing. Where exactly am I? Training Ground 3, on the outskirts of Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves, in the land of fire. Seeing her blank expression, Naruto added, Fire Country. The 5 great shinobi nations. Kai shook her head slowly. None of those places exist in my world. This is definitely cross-dimensional travel, not just geographic displacement. A rustle of leaves drew both their attention to the edge of the clearing. Hinata Hyuga emerged from the tree line. Her Byakugan activated, the veins around her eyes prominent as she scanned them both. Naruto-kun, she called, approaching cautiously. I was on patrol when I sensed a massive energy disturbance. Her gaze shifted to Kai. Who is this? Her chakra pattern is unlike anything I've ever seen. Kai took in Hinata's appearance, particularly her distinctive eyes. Your irises, that's a genetic trait. Or technology. Hinata blinked, deactivating her Byakugan. It's my Kekkei Genkai, the Byakugan. A bloodline ability of the Hyuga clan. Fascinating, Kai murmured. Visual capabilities. This is Kai, Naruto interjected before Hinata could respond. She came through some kind of portal after I. He hesitated, unsure how to explain. Hinata's attention shifted to Naruto. After you what? Naruto-kun, your chakra network has altered significantly since yesterday. There's a new energy pattern intertwined with your normal flow, and the seal structure has expanded. Kai's eyebrows raised appreciatively. You can see internal energy networks. That's an incredible ability. Hinata nodded, a faint blush coloring her cheeks at the praise. The Byakugan allows us to see chakra pathways and flow. Naruto's have always been unique because of the 9 tails, but this. She activated her bloodline again, studying him intently. It's as though a secondary system has integrated itself with your existing network, creating entirely new pathways. Naruto nodded, pulling up his shirt again. It started with these markings. Kai called it an Omnitrix, or something like it. It just let me transform into a crystal being. Hinata's eyes widened as she examined the seal with her Byakugan. The complexity is astounding. It's reminiscent of the most advanced Uzumaki sealing techniques. But with elements I've never encountered. Because they're not from this dimension, Kai supplied. Where I come from, the Omnitrix is a device that allows transformation into different alien species. But this, she gestured at Naruto's seal. This seems to be a biological equivalent somehow merged with your existing seal. Naruto lowered his shirt, mind racing. Quote, we should report this to Tsunade Bachan. Hinata nodded in agreement. The Hokage needs to know about both the seal's development and. She glanced at Kai. My unexpected arrival, Kai finished. I understand. In my world, I work with an organization called the Plumbers that handles extraterrestrial and interdimensional incidents. I'm familiar with security protocols. Naruto studied her for a moment, then nodded decisively. Let's go, then, but maybe avoid mentioning the transformation in public until we know more. The last thing we need is widespread panic about the Nine Tails container developing strange new powers. The trio made their way back toward the village, Naruto in the lead with the two women flanking him. Kai absorbed every detail of her surroundings with keen interest, occasionally asking quiet questions about buildings or customs they passed. Your society appears to blend traditional elements with advanced capabilities, she observed as they passed a shop where a craftsman was forging kunai using both manual techniques and chakra manipulation. Technological development focused around your energy system, chakra, you called it. Hinata nodded. Chakra forms the foundation of our abilities as shinobi. It's a combination of physical and spiritual energy that can be molded for various techniques. Like your visual abilities, Kai noted, and Naruto's transformative capabilities, though those seem to operate on a different principle entirely. Naruto glanced back at them. You know a lot about this Omnitrix thing. In your world, who uses it? Kai's expression softened slightly. A friend of mine named Ben Tennyson. He received the original Omnitrix when he was 10 years old and has been using it to protect Earth, my Earth, ever since. I've helped I.M. research the different alien species he can transform into. She paused, studying Naruto's profile. There are similarities between you two, actually. The same determination to protect others, the same burden of extraordinary power at a young age. They approached the Hokage Tower, a distinctive red circular building at the heart of the village. Guards posted at the entrance straightened as they recognized Naruto, one moving to open the door while the other regarded Kai with professional suspicion. She's with me, Naruto said firmly. Urgent matter for the Hokage. The guard nodded. Well, accustomed to Naruto's direct approach with Tsunade. She's between meetings for the next hour, Uzumaki-san. Inside, they navigated the familiar corridors to Tsunade's office. Naruto knocked once, then entered without waiting for a response, a liberty few others in the village would dare take with the Hokage. Tsunade looked up from a stack of documents, honey-colored eyes narrowing slightly at the intrusion. Her youthful appearance belied her actual age, a perpetual genjutsu maintained through decades of chakra control. This had better be important, brat. I'm drowning in reconstruction proposals and, she paused. Gaze settling on Kai. Who's this? Naruto closed the door behind them. That's a complicated question. Can you activate the privacy seals? Tsunade's expression sharpened with interest. She made a quick hand sign, and seals around the room's perimeter glowed briefly as they activated, ensuring their conversation couldn't be overheard or observed. All right, she said, leaning back in her chair. Explain. Between them, Naruto and Kai recounted the morning's events, the strange markings around Naruto's seal, his transformation, the portal's appearance, and Kai's arrival from another dimension. Hinata occasionally interjected with observations about the changes in Naruto's chakra network as viewed through her Byakugan. Tsunade listened without interruption, her expression growing increasingly grave. When they finished, she rose from her desk and approached Naruto. Show me the seal. Naruto complied, lifting his shirt once more. Tsunade examined the marquee, NGS with the experienced eye of a medical ninja and seal expert, occasionally tracing patterns in the air above his skin without touching them. The integration with the 8 trigrams seal is seamless, she murmured. As though it was designed to activate specifically in conjunction with it. She glanced at Kai. In your world, this Omnitrix, it's a technological device. Kai nodded. Created by the most brilliant inventor in 5 galaxies. It contains DNA samples from thousands of different alien species, allowing the wearer to transform temporarily into any of them. And you believe Naruto's seal is functioning similarly. The energy signature and transformation effect are nearly identical, Kai confirmed. But as I told Naruto, this isn't a device, it appears to be biologically integrated. More like a Kekkei Genkai than technology. Tsunade's eyebrows rose. A Kekkei Genkai that allows transformation into beings from other dimensions. She shook her head in disbelief. The implications are staggering. There's more, Naruto added. When I was in the transformation, I could still use chakra. It actually seemed to amplify it, channeling it differently. A combination of alien physiology and chakra manipulation, Tsunade mused. The potential applications for combat and missions. She trailed off, then refocused. We need to understand this fully before proceeding. Naruto. I want you to work with Hinata to document exactly how this affects your chakra network. And, she turned to Kai, we need your knowledge of these transformations. Consider yourself a temporary consultant to Konoha. Kai inclined her head respectfully. I'm happy to help, though I hope to eventually find a way back to my own dimension. Understandable. We'll assign resources to that problem as well. Tsunade returned to her desk. In the meantime, you'll need accommodations. Naruto, she can use one of the diplomatic apartments near your complex. I have a spare room, Naruto offered instead. It would make collaboration easier, and we could keep the whole situation more contained. Tsunade raised an eyebrow but nodded. Very well. Hinata, I'd like daily reports on any changes you observe. Yes, Hokage-sama, Hinata agreed, though Naruto noticed a slight tension in her expression at the living arrangement. One more thing, Tsunade added. Until we understand this fully, I'm classifying all information regarding this new seal as an S-rank secret. No discussion outside this room except with Shizune and a select few researchers I'll personally approve. As they left the Hokage Tower, Naruto felt the weight of this new development settling on his shoulders. Another power, another responsibility, yet strangely, he felt more excitement than burden. The transformation had been exhilarating, opening possibilities he'd never imagined. Your apartment, then? Kai asked as they reached the street. Naruto nodded. It's nothing fancy, but there's enough space. Hinata cleared her throat softly. I should report to my clan about adjusting my patrol schedule for this new assignment. I'll meet you both tomorrow morning to begin the chakra network analysis. Wait, Naruto said suddenly. Are you free tonight, Hinata? We could all have dinner, get to know each other better, maybe start figuring some of this out. A soft blush colored Hinata's cheeks. Yes, that would be nice. Great. My place at 7. Naruto grinned. I make a decent ramen, though nothing like Ichiraku's. I'll bring some research materials from the Hyuga archives, Hinata offered. There might be historical references to interdimensional phenomena. Perfect. Naruto turned to Kai, ready to see where you'll be staying until we figure this out. Kai adjusted the small pack. She carried, the only possession that had come through the portal with her. Lead the way. They parted from Hinata and wound through Konoha's streets toward Naruto's apartment complex. The building wasn't particularly impressive from the outside, but it housed several high-ranking shinobi due to its security features and proximity to both the Hokage Tower and village walls. Your world seems to organize around military function, Kai observed as they climbed the stairs. These shinobi are essentially specialized warriors. Naruto considered this more than just warriors. We're SSU could say we're everything from soldiers to peacekeepers to special operatives. Each village maintains its own shinobi force, and we take on missions ranging from escort duty to assassination, depending on rank and specialty. And you, what's your specialty? Naruto unlocked his apartment door. I'm what they call a frontline fighter. Lots of chakra, high-impact techniques. I specialize in shadow clones and Rasengan, a spiraling chakra sphere technique. Plus, I can access Kurama's chakra for additional power. He ushered her inside. The apartment was surprisingly tidy, a far cry from his childhood home. The main room served as both living area and kitchen, with large windows overlooking the village. A short hallway led to 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. It's not much, but it's home, Naruto said, suddenly self-conscious. Spare room is on the left. Bathrooms at the end of the hall. Kai set down her pack, inspecting the space with interest. It's perfect. Thank you for the hospitality. She moved to the window, taking in the view of Konoha. Beautiful village. The architecture is fascinating, a blend of traditional aesthetics with practical defensive considerations. Naruto watched her, struck by her analytical approach to everything. You mentioned you're an anthropologist. Among other things, Kai confirmed, turning back to him. I specialize in alien cultures and artifacts. My grandfather was an anthropologist who studied the ancient civilization of the Navajo, and I followed in his footsteps, just with a more extraterrestrial focus. She approached the small shelf of photographs next to his couch, studying them with interest. Your friends? Naruto nodded, moving beside her. That's Team 7. Me, Sakura, Sasuke, and our sensei Kakashi. Before everything got complicated, he pointed to another photo. That's me with Jiraiya, my mentor. Naruto hesitated. He died a few years ago. Kai glanced at him, recognizing the familiar weight of loss. I'm sorry. Thanks. Naruto moved on to another picture. This is from the end of the war, all the rookie 9+ team guy. We've been through a lot together. War? Kai asked quietly. The Fourth Shinobi World War. Naruto explained. Ended about a year ago. An ancient entity named Kekkei tried to harvest all chakra from our world. Nearly succeeded, too. Kai absorbed this information, connecting it to her own experiences. In my world, we face similar existential threats. Different powers, same stakes. She turned to face him fully. Tell me more about the nine-tailed fox you mentioned. It's sealed inside you. Naruto sat on the couch, gesturing for her to join him. Kurama, that's his name, is one of nine-tailed beasts, massive chakra entities created centuries ago. When I was born, he attacked our village. And my father sealed him inside me to save everyone. It's complicated. I imagine so, Kai said, settling beside him. In my experience, power always comes with complexity. She hesitated, then asked, can you communicate with him? Is he sentient? Very sentient, Naruto chuckled. And yeah, we talk all the time now. Wasn't always that way. For years, we were like reluctant roommates, him trying to take over, me trying to suppress him. But during the war, we formed a partnership. Kai nodded thoughtfully. And now this new power has integrated with that existing relationship. Exactly. Naruto leaned forward, elbows on his knees. When I transformed earlier, Kurama was still there, still connected to me. But there was something else too, knowledge. About the transformation that came instantly, like I'd always known it. The Omnitrix functions similarly, Kai explained. It provides instinctive understanding of each alien form's capabilities. A survival mechanism to prevent the user from harming themselves through ignorance. Naruto absorbed this information, then glanced at the clock on the wall. We've got a few hours before Hinata arrives. Want to see more of Konoha? Might help you get oriented. Kai smiled. The first genuine smile he'd seen from her. I'd like that. The anthropologist in me is dying to learn more about your culture. They spent the afternoon touring the village, Naruto pointing out key locations and explaining the basic structure of shinobi society. Kai proved to be an attentive listener, asking insightful questions that sometimes forced Naruto to think about aspects of his world he'd always taken for granted. So chakra is present in everything? She asked as they walked through the marketplace. Pretty much, Naruto confirmed. People, animals, plants, even the land itself. Some can access and manipulate it better than others. Fascinating. In scientific terms, it sounds like a quantum field that permeates your dimension. Accessible through biological mechanisms. Naruto blinked. I'll take your word for it. As the sun began to set, they returned to Naruto's apartment to prepare for dinner. Kai offered to help, revealing surprising culinary skill as she adapted quickly to the unfamiliar ingredients. My research often takes me to remote locations, she explained, expertly dicing vegetables. Learning to cook with local ingredients is a survival skill. Naruto watched her work, impressed by her adaptability. You're handling this whole, trapped in another dimension, thing pretty well. Kai's hands paused briefly before resuming their rhythm. Not my first interdimensional incident. Though usually, I have some warning, and a way back. She glanced at him. But panicking won't help. Better to gather information, form hypotheses, and work methodically toward a solution. Very scientific approach. It's served me well. She transferred the vegetables to the pot where broth was already simmering. Besides, this situation is unprecedented. The connection between your seal and the Omnitrix technology might reveal entirely new understandings of cross-dimensional energy manipulation. A knock at the door announced Hinata's arrival. Naruto welcomed her in, noticing she'd changed from her mission attire into a more casual lavender outfit that complemented her eyes. Something smells wonderful, Hinata commented, setting down a stack of scrolls on the coffee table. Kai's been helping upgrade my ramen recipe, Naruto grinned. Turns out interdimensional travelers make good cooks. Dinner proved to be more relaxed than any of them had anticipated. As they ate, Conversation flowed easily between topics, from the mechanics of chakra to the various alien species Kai had encountered. From Hinata's abilities to Naruto's past adventures. So this Byakugan, Kai said, turning to Hinata, it allows you to see through solid objects. Hinata nodded, and at great distances, the most skilled Hyuga can see clearly for kilometers in any direction. That's remarkable. Is it painful to use? Only if overexerted, Hinata explained. Like any chakra technique, it requires energy and focus. Extended use can cause strain. Naruto watched their interaction with interest. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, the two women seemed to connect easily, finding common ground in their analytical approaches and shared interest in his unusual situation. After dinner, they spread Hinata's scrolls across the coffee table. Most contained historical accounts of the Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques, with a few references to dimensional theory from ancient texts. This is interesting, Hinata said, pointing to a passage in one of the older scrolls. It mentions a legendary Uzumaki technique called celestial sealing that could bind the essence of divine beings to human vessels. Naruto leaned closer. Divine beings, like the tailed beasts. Different, I think. Hinata traced the faded text with her finger. It describes entities from beyond the veil of stars that existed in realms parallel to our own. The technique was supposedly created to allow worthy vessels to channel these beings' powers against threats too great for normal shinobi. Kai joined them, studying the ancient text. That sounds remarkably similar to the function of the Omnitrix, just described in mystical rather than technological terms. Is there any mention of what this seal looked like? Naruto asked. Hinata carefully unrolled the scroll further, revealing a faded diagram. Here, it's not complete, but they all fell silent. Even with parts of the illustration missing, the similarity to the markings on Naruto's abdomen was unmistakable, the same geometric patterns. The same orbital arrangement around a central point. The celestial seal, Naruto murmured. That's what this is. Kai's expression grew thoughtful. In my world, the Omnitrix was created as a tool for understanding, a way to experience life as different species to promote empathy and peace. But it became a weapon out of necessity. Sounds familiar, Naruto said quietly. The tailed beasts were originally meant to bring balance, not destruction. Hinata continued reading. It says the technique was abandoned because it was too unpredictable, opening doorways between worlds that should remain separate. The last recorded user lived over 300 years ago. Until now, Kai added, looking at Naruto. Their research continued late into the night, piecing together fragments of information from the ancient texts. The picture that emerged was both fascinating and concerning. The celestial seal had indeed been an Uzumaki technique, designed to allow specially chosen individuals to channel the powers of beings from other dimensions. But it had been sealed away due to dangerous side effects, including uncontrollable dimensional rifts like the one that had brought Kai to their world. We should try another transformation, Kai suggested eventually. Under controlled conditions, with Hinata monitoring the chakra effects. Naruto hesitated. What if it opens another portal? That's precisely why we should do it deliberately, Kai explained. To understand what triggers the dimensional rifts and how to control them. Otherwise, it might happen randomly at a far less convenient time. Hinata nodded in agreement. She's right, Naruto-kun. Better to experiment now, with people who understand what's happening. All right, Naruto conceded. But let's move to the training ground. More space. Fewer bystanders if something goes wrong. The night air was cool as they made their way back to Training Ground 3. Stars glittered overhead, countless pinpricks of light in the vast darkness. Doorways to other worlds, perhaps, in a more poetic sense than any of them had previously considered. They positioned themselves in the center of the clearing, Hinata standing several meters away with her Byakugan activated, ready to observe the changes in Naruto's chakra network. Kai stood closer, equipment from her pack ready to measure the energy fluctuations. All right, Naruto said, centering himself. Here goes. He focused on the seal, which began to glow beneath his shirt. This time, he felt something different, a sense of options, of choices. Where before here had been only one transformation available, now he sensed several possibilities, like doors waiting to be opened. I think I can choose different forms, he said, surprise evident in his voice. Kai nodded. The Omnitrix contains thousands of transformations. If your celestial seal functions similarly, you might be gradually gaining access to more options. Naruto concentrated, mentally sore. Ting through the available transformations. One felt particularly appropriate. Something fast, agile. Transform, he commanded, pressing his palm against the seal. The green light enveloped him once more. This transformation felt different, lighter, quicker. When the glow faded, Naruto had become a velociraptor-like being with blue and black skin, wheels in place of feet, and a helmet-like head with a visor. XLR-8. Kai identified immediately. A Kinesolaran. Super speed capabilities. Naruto flexed his new form's limbs, marveling at how light and responsive they felt. This is incredible. His voice had a slight mechanical quality in this form. Your chakra flow has completely reconfigured, Hinata called out, amazement evident in her voice. It's concentrated in different nodes now, primarily your legs and central nervous system. Naruto experimentally took a step forward, and suddenly found himself on the opposite side of the clearing. Whoa, careful, Kai cautioned. Kinesol can move faster than the human eye can track. You need to adjust to the acceleration. Over the next few minutes, Naruto practiced controlling his speed, gradually mastering the ability to move at various velocities rather than just top speed. He discovered he could create visible after images by moving in precise patterns, and that his reaction time had increased exponentially. Halfway through the experiment, Hinata gasped. Naruto-kun, something's happening with the seal. Before he could respond, the familiar green energy began swirling at the edge of the clearing, another portal forming. Unlike the previous one, this rift seemed unstable, pulsing erratically as it expanded. It's not fully materializing, Kai observed, checking her instruments. The frequency is different, like it's searching for something specific and not finding it. Naruto reverted to his human form as the transformation timer expired, and immediately the portal began to collapse. Within seconds, it had vanished completely, leaving only a faint scorch mark on the grass. That was different, he noted, approaching the spot where the portal had appeared. It felt wrong somehow. Kai nodded grimly. The energy signature was more chaotic. If I had to guess, I'd say the seal is trying to establish connections to specific dimensional coordinates, but hasn't stabilized yet. Hinata deactivated her Byakugan, blinking as her eyes readjusted. Your chakra network returns completely to normal after transformation, Naruto-kun. But the seal itself is changing, expanding slightly with each use. Like it's growing stronger, Naruto murmured, or adapting. They returned to Naruto's apartment in thoughtful silence, each processing the implications of what they'd witnessed. The celestial seal was clearly more complex than any of them had initially realized, with capabilities and risks they were only beginning to understand. Back at the apartment, Kai spread her notes across the kitchen table. Based on what we've seen, I think the seal is synchronizing with your chakra system, using it as a power source for the transformations while simultaneously drawing on dimensional energy for the actual metamorphosis. And the portals? Naruto asked, making tea for the three of them. Side effects, most likely. Dimensional bleed-through caused by the energy required for transformation. She accepted the cup he offered. Thank you. The question is whether they can be controlled or prevented. Hinata sat across from them, looking tired but determined. The ancient texts mentioned doorways between worlds. Perhaps they're an intentional function, not just a side effect. Meaning what? Naruto asked. Meaning, Kai interjected, the celestial seal might have been designed not just to transform the user, but to allow transit between dimensions. They discussed possibilities late into the night, developing theories and planning further experiments. Eventually, Hinata rose to leave, gathering her scrolls. I should get back to the compound, she said reluctantly. Father will be wondering where I am. Naruto walked her to the door. Thank you for your help, Hinata. You're Byakugan, and is giving us insights we couldn't get any other way. She smiled softly. I'm happy to assist, Naruto-kun. Her pale eyes flickered briefly to Kai, then back to him. Will you be all right? This is a lot to process in one day. I'll be fine, he assured her. If anyone knows about adapting to unexpected powers, it's me. After Hinata left, Naruto returned to find Kai still at the table, reviewing her notes with intense focus. The lamplight caught the angles of her face, highlighting her determined expression. "You should get some rest," he suggested, sitting across from her. "It's been a long day for you especially." Kai looked up, seeming surprised to find it was just the two of them. "I suppose you're right." She set down her pen. "Your friend Hinata, she cares for you deeply." It wasn't a question, but Naruto answered anyway. "We've known each other since we were children. She's always believed in me, even when no one else did." "And you?" Naruto considered the question. "Hinata is important to me. Special. But things between us are complicated." Kai nodded, understanding in her eyes. Relationships often are, especially when extraordinary circumstances are involved. She gathered her notes into a neat pile. "In my experience, power like what you possess, what we both know about, it changes the normal rules of connection." "You sound like you speak from experience." A shadow crossed Kai's face. "Let's just say I understand what it means to care for someone who carries the weight of worlds on their shoulders." She stood, collecting her cup. "Thank you again for your hospitality, Naruto. Tomorrow, we should begin cataloging the transformations you can access and their specific capabilities." "Sounds like a plan." Naruto watched as she rinsed her cup in the sink. "Kai, for what it's worth, I'm sorry you got pulled into all this." She turned, regarding him with a measured gaze. "Don't be. Where I come from, we have a saying, the universe puts you exactly where you need to be. Even if it's not where you plan to go." She offered a small smile. "Good night, Naruto." "Good night." Alone in the living room, Naruto stood by the window, looking out over the sleeping village. The events of the day replayed in his mind. The transformation, the portal, the revelation about the celestial seal. New power, new responsibility, new connections. He placed a hand over the seal on his abdomen, feeling the warm pulse of energy beneath his palm. Whatever this power was, whatever it meant, he would master it, just as he had mastered Kurama's chakra, just as he had overcome every challenge life had thrown at him. In his mindscape, Kurama watched with keen interest as the geometric patterns of the celestial seal gradually expanded through the corridors, intertwining with the existing architecture of the 8 trigrams seal. "Interesting times ahead," Kit, the fox, murmured to himself. "Interesting times indeed." As if in response, the patterns pulsed with emerald light, briefly illuminating ancient symbols that had not been seen in the shinobi world for centuries, the language of beings beyond the stars, now awakening once more in the most unexpected of vessels. The celestial seal had returned, and with it, doorways to worlds beyond imagination were beginning to open. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Dimensional Threads. Dawn painted Konoha's rooftops gold. Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, gazing across the waking village as cool morning air filled his lungs. 3 days had passed since Kai's arrival through the mysterious portal, 3 days of discovery and adjustment. The world felt simultaneously smaller and vastly larger than before. Beneath his palm, the celestial seal radiated pleasant warmth. Every morning since his first transformation, Naruto woke to find additional patterns etched into his skin, delicate cosmic geometries spiraling outward from the original 8 trigrams seal. What had once been confined to his abdomen, and now branched upward toward his heart and downward along his hip. Feeling contemplative, Kai's voice carried from behind him. She climbed the last few stone steps to join him on the 4th Hokage's stone head, his father's likeness. Though few in the village knew that connection. Just thinking about how quickly everything's changing. Naruto turned toward her, noting how naturally she'd adapted to ninja attire. The standard issue black pants and modified blue jacket suited her, though she'd maintained her distinctive braided hairstyle. Kai's gaze swept across the panoramic view. Remarkable vantage point. Your leaders literally watch over the village even after death. My father's up here, Naruto said quietly, tapping the stone beneath them with his foot. Kai's eyebrows rose slightly. The 4th Hokage. You didn't mention that connection before. Not many people know. He died the day I was born, sealing Kurama inside me. Naruto's voice held no bitterness, only a complex mix of pride and lingering sadness. Sometimes I come up here to think, feels like I'm closer to him somehow. Silence settled between them, not uncomfortable, but respectful. Kai possessed an anthropologist's patience. allowing spaces in conversation where others might rush to fill them. We should probably head down, Naruto eventually suggested. Hinata will be waiting at the training ground. As they descended the stone stairway carved into the mountain, Naruto noted how Kai studied everything with scientific precision. The construction techniques, the patrol patterns of village guards, the morning routines of civilians. Her intelligence manifested differently than Shikamaru's strategic genius or Sakura's medical knowledge. Hers was the practiced observation of someone accustomed to learning entire cultures quickly. Still no word from Tsunade's research team about potential return methods. Naruto asked. Kai shook her head. Nothing conclusive. The interdimensional physics info, LVED are beyond even your most advanced sealing experts. A wry smile touched her lips. Though your friend Shikamaru asked some surprisingly insightful questions yesterday. That's Shikamaru, laziest genius you'll ever meet. They crossed through the village center, drawing curious glances. Despite Tsunade's classification of the celestial seal as an S-rank secret, Kai's presence had naturally generated interest. The cover story, that she was a specialist from a distant land consulting on a classified project, satisfied most, though Naruto's close friends knew better than to accept the official explanation at face value. Naruto, Sakura's voice called from across the street. The pink-haired medical ninja jogged toward them, medical bags slung over her shoulder. I've been looking everywhere for you. Morning, Sakura-chan. What's up? Lady Tsunade wants you at the hospital for additional tests. Something about baseline measurements before your next transformation attempt. Her green eyes shifted to Kai. You're invited too, of course. Kai nodded. The more data, the better. Though we were supposed to meet Hinata at Training Ground 3. Already taken care of. I ran into her at the hospital. She's helping with a chakra visualization case. Sakura fell into step beside them as they changed direction toward the hospital. So, any new developments with the seal? Naruto glanced around to ensure no one was within earshot. 3 new transformations discovered yesterday. Each one seems to come with instant knowledge of its capabilities. Hinata says the seal expands slightly with each new form I access. Sakura frowned. That's concerning from a medical perspective. Is it integrating with your normal tissue? More like overlaying it, Kai explained. The patterns follow chakra meridians but create new pathways rather than replacing existing ones. It's fascinating, really, almost like watching evolution happen in real time. The hospital hummed with morning activity as they entered through the staff entrance, avoiding the busier public areas. Tsunade waited for them in a specialized examination room in the restricted research wing, accompanied by Hinata and Shizune. About time, Tsunade remarked, though without real irritation. Shirt off, Naruto. Let's see today's progress. Naruto complied, revealing the expanded seal pattern. Collective gasps filled the room. Overnight, the geometric lines had extended further than ever before, creating an intricate network across his torso. It's beautiful, Hinata whispered, then blushed when everyone turned toward her. I mean, the mathematical precision is remarkable. Agreed, Tsunade said, circling Naruto with clinical focus. Hinata, can you give us a Byakugan assessment? Hinata activated her bloodline limit, veins emerging around her pale eyes as she studied Naruto's chakra network. The integration continues to advance. The seal's energy flows alongside his normal chakra without disrupting it. But there are now connection points, like synapses, where the two systems interface. Any signs of rejection or negative effects? Tsunade pressed. None that I can detect. If anything, his normal chakra pathways appear more efficient where the seal interfaces with them. Tsunade nodded, making notes. Naruto, how do you feel? Any discomfort, unusual sensations? Actually, I feel great, Naruto admitted. Better than normal. More connected, somehow. He struggled to find the right words. Like I'm more aware of my body and the energy flowing through it. Heightened proprioception, Kai suggested. Ben reported similar effects, enhanced awareness of his physical form and capabilities. Interesting. Tsunade completed her notes. All right, let's run the full diagnostic panel before attempting another transformation. Shizune, prepare the chakra monitoring equipment. For the next hour, Naruto underwent a comprehensive examination, everything from standard medical tests to Specialized chakra assessments developed specifically for Jinchuriki. Sakura and Shizune monitored his vital signs while Hinata tracked chakra flow patterns and Tsunade supervised the entire process. Kai observed attentively, offering occasional insights based on her experience with the Omnitrix. Remarkable, Tsunade finally declared, reviewing the results. Not only is there no sign of negative impact, but several of your baseline metrics have improved. Cellular regeneration is up 12%, chakra efficiency increased by nearly 8%, and your already impressive stamina has somehow enhanced further. The celestial seal appears to be optimizing his biological systems, Kai theorized. Similar to how the Omnitrix repairs genetic damage in its wielder. So it's making me better? Naruto asked. Essentially, Tsunade's expression mixed scientific fascination with cautious concern, which raises interesting questions about its purpose. If it's truly an ancient Uzumaki technique as the scrolls suggest, why design it to enhance the vessel beyond the transformative capabilities? Preparation, Hinata said quietly, drawing everyone's attention. The scrolls mention, worthy vessels, who could channel beings from beyond the stars. Perhaps the enhancement ensures the vessel can withstand the power. Naruto considered this, like how my Uzumaki vitality helps me handle Kurama's chakra. Exactly. Tsunade nodded approvingly at Hinata. Now, I believe we're ready for a controlled transformation assessment. Let's move to the reinforced testing chamber. E Group relocated to a specially designed room in the hospital's basement, a large, circular chamber with reinforced walls covered in ceiling arrays designed to contain everything from explosive jutsu to Biju chakra. Monitoring equipment lined one wall, with an observation area protected by additional barriers. We've modified the containment seals based on readings from your previous transformations, Tsunade explained. Should help prevent any unexpected dimensional rifts from expanding beyond this room. Naruto moved to the center of the chamber while the others took positions behind the barrier. He closed his eyes, centering himself as he'd practiced, feeling the warm pulse of the celestial seal beneath his palm. Remember, Kai called, focus on a specific transformation intention. That should help stabilize the process. Quote, nodding, Naruto concentrated. Where previously he'd had access to only a few forms, he now sensed at least a dozen distinct possibilities, each with its unique energy signature and capabilities. He selected one that felt particularly powerful yet controlled. Transform, he commanded. Emerald light enveloped him, and the now familiar sensation of molecule AR reconstruction swept through his body. When the glow subsided, Naruto stood transformed into a humanoid being composed of living crystal, similar to his first transformation, but different in coloration and structure. This form gleamed with blue-violet crystal rather than green, with sharper facets and a more refined structure. Chromastone, Kai identified immediately. A crystal sapine, energy, absorption and redirection capabilities. Hinata gasped softly, her Byakugan revealing the transformation's internal complexity. His entire chakra network has reconfigured into crystalline energy pathways. There's no medical terminology for what I'm seeing. Naruto examined his transformed body, fascinated by the prismatic reflections dancing across his crystalline skin. This feels different from Diamond Head, he noted, his voice resonating with harmonic overtones. Less physical strength, but more energy awareness. Try channeling some chakra, Tsunade suggested. Naruto complied, focusing a small amount of energy through his transformed body. Immediately, his crystalline form illuminated from within, bands of colored light flowing through the facets like liquid rainbows. Incredible, Sakura breathed. The chakra signature completely changed properties. Not just changed, Hinata corrected, her Byakugan tracking the energy flow. It's being converted into a different form altogether. Something between chakra and pure electromagnetic energy. Naruto raised his hand, directing the converted energy outward. A beam of rainbow-hued light shot from his palm, striking the reinforced wall and leaving a scorched pattern of concentric circles. Perfect energy conversion and redirection, Kai noted, checking her instruments. Chromasapians can absorb virtually any energy form and release it as concentrated ultraviolet radiation. Or in this case, converted chakra, Tsunade added. Naruto, try something more complex, perhaps a basic jutsu. Naruto formed a familiar hand sign, though it looked strange with his crystalline fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Instead of creating normal clones, the technique produced 3 smaller crystalline constructs that separated from his body, each containing a portion of his converted chakra. They moved independently, though remained connected to him by thin threads of energy visible only through Hinata's Byakugan. Not shadow clones exactly, Naruto observed, experimentally directing the constructs to move around the chamber. More like remote-controlled extensions. For the next 30 minutes, they Systematica LLY tested this transformation's capabilities, its strength moderate, speed average, energy absorption exceptional, and compatibility with various jutsu highly variable. Throughout the process, instruments recorded every measurement while Hinata provided continuous Byakugan observation. As the transformation timer approached its limit, Kai's monitoring equipment suddenly spiked. Energy fluctuation, she warned. Similar pattern to previous portal formations. Sure enough, green energy began swirling at the chamber's edge, dimensional space warping as a small rift formed. Unlike previous instances, this portal appeared more stable, its edges clearly defined. The containment seals are working, Tsunade observed. They're limiting the portal's expansion, but not preventing it entirely, Shizune noted with concern. As Naruto's transformation reverted, the portal stabilized rather than collapsing, a window roughly 1 meter in diameter that showed a barren, rocky landscape under an alien sky. That's not my Earth, Kai said, approaching the barrier for a better view. The atmospheric coloration suggests higher xenon content than my home dimension. Another world entirely, Sakura asked. The multiverse contains countless dimensions, Kai explained. This appears to be yet another one, neither my world nor yours. Tsunade studied the readings from the monitoring equipment. The portal is completely stable. No energy fluctuations, no signs of expansion or collapse. That's new, Naruto commented, rejoining the others behind the barrier. Previous rifts either expanded or disappeared. The containment seals may have inadvertently created perfect conditions for portal stability, Hinata suggested, studying the phenomenon with her Byakugan. I can see E-dimensional boundaries, they're in perfect balance. Can anything come through from that side? Naruto asked, eyeing the barren landscape warily. As if in answer, the ground on the other side trembled. A creature emerged from behind a rocky outcropping, insectoid in appearance, with 4 pincer-like arms and a chitinous exoskeleton. It skittered forward, stopping when it noticed the portal, T-faceted eyes reflecting the laboratory lights. Nobody move, Kai whispered. That's a Petropian cave crawler. Generally non-aggressive unless threatened. The creature approached cautiously, NDING a sensory appendage toward the portal's boundary. When it touched the energy field, a small spark repelled it, causing the insectoid to retreat with a chittering sound. The dimensional membrane appears semi-permeable, Kai observed. Energy can transfer across it, but physical matter is repelled. For now, Tsunade added grimly. We should close this immediately before the properties change. How? Sakura asked. We don't know what's keeping it open. Naruto stepped forward. Maybe another transformation could reverse it. Since my changing seems to trigger these portals. Kai considered this. Possibly. The dimensional energy resonates with the celestial seal's frequency. A contrasting transformation might create interference patterns that collapse the stability. Worth trying, Tsunade agreed. But be careful, Naruto. If something goes wrong, when doesn't it? He replied with a wry smile, moving back to the chamber's center. Let me try something specific this time. Focusing on the seal, Naruto searched for a transformation that felt oppositional to the crystal being he'd just been, something fluid rather than solid, absorbing rather than projecting. The sensation came almost instinctively, as though the seal itself was guiding his selection. Transform, he commanded. Emerald light enveloped him once more. This transformation felt fundamentally different. His physical form becoming less defined, more fluid. When the light faded, Naruto had become a humanoid composed of green-black antimatter with white star-like points of light swirling within his form. His face was featureless except for green eyes, and he seemed to hover slightly above the ground. Alien X, Kai breathed, shock evident in her voice. A celestial sapien. That's impossible. Even Ben rarely accesses that form. Why? Tsunade asked sharply, noting Kai's reaction. Celestial sapiens are the most powerful species in the known universe. They exist partially outside conventio, null spacetime, and can literally alter reality with a thought. Kai's expression reflected both awe and concern. But their power comes with limitations. Their consciousness is divided into multiple personalities that must agree before acting. Inside the transformed state, Naruto experienced something entirely unexpected. Rather than simply gaining new physical capabilities, he found his consciousness expanded into what seemed like an infinite void filled with stars, a universe within himself. Two additional presences manifested beside him, appearing as feminine and masculine faces composed of the same starry material as his new form. A new voice joins the consciousness, the feminine presence observed, her voice echoing through the cosmic mindscape. Unexpected, the masculine presence noted. This vessel differs from the previous wielder. Who are you? Naruto asked, his thoughts projected as speech within this internal cosmos. I am Serena, the voice of compassion and love, the feminine presence replied. And I am Bellicus, the voice of rage and aggression, the masculine counterpart added. Together, we represent the fundamental forces of creation and destruction, they explained in unison. No action may be taken without majority agreement among the voices of the celestial sapien. Motion to dismiss this untested voice from our consciousness, Bellicus immediately proposed. I second the examination of his worthiness, Serena countered, but not dismissal without evaluation. Outside in the physical world, Naruto's transformed body remained motionless, hovering several centimeters above the ground, green eyes staring at the dimensional portal without blinking. What's happening? Hinata asked anxiously. His chakra has expanded beyond my visual range. Celestial sapien paralysis, Kai explained. Their multiple personalities must reach consensus before action can occur. Naruto is likely experiencing internal debate. Within the cosmic mindscape, Naruto struggled to understand his situation. Look, I just need to close that dimensional portal. Can we agree on that? Motion to consider the request regarding dimensional stability, Serena proposed. Motion denied. Bellicus countered immediately. The natural order of dimensional boundaries is not our concern. But it could be dangerous, Naruto argued. Unstable portals between worlds could cause catastrophic damage to multiple realities. He raises a valid point, Serena noted. Motion to reconsider. Fine, Bellicus grumbled. Motion to examine the dimensional anomaly. Seconded, Serena agreed. Suddenly, Naruto's perception expanded beyond his physical location. He could simultaneously perceive both the testing chamber and the alien world on the other side of the portal, along with the underlying dimensional mechanics connecting them. The rift appeared to him as a complex knot in the fabric of reality, pulsing with energy tied directly to the celestial seal. I see the problem, he realized. The portal is drawing power from the seal itself. It's a feedback loop. Motion to close the dimensional rift by severing its connection to the celestial seal's energy matrix, Serena proposed. Seconded, Naruto quickly added before Bellicus could object. Overruled. Bellicus thundered. 2,473,912 years ago. We agreed never to interfere with dimensional boundaries without unanimous consensus. That was regarding permanent alterations to cosmic structure, Serena countered. This is a temporary stabilization of an existing anomaly. The debate continued in circles, each motion met with counter-arguments and procedural objections. Naruto felt mounting frustration as valuable transformation time ticked away. In the physical world, the portal began fluctuating, its edges pulsing erratically. Something's happening, Tsunade observed. The dimensional stability is breaking down. Naruto's transformation must be affecting it, Kai suggested. Even his immobile state creates quantum uncertainty patterns. Hinata stepped closer to the barrier, concern evident on her face. His chakra is still present, but it's diffused somehow, like it exists everywhere at once. Inside the cosmic mindscape, Naruto finally lost patience. Enough. While you two argue about cosmic bylaws, real people could be in danger. He focused his consciousness, drawing on his experiences with the Nine Tails. I don't know how this usually works, but I'm used to sharing headspace with difficult entities. He reached out with his consciousness, finding the threads of energy connecting him to the celestial seal. Just as he'd learned to access Kurama's chakra independently, he attempted to assert Control over the celestial Sapien form without consensus. Motion to recognize that I am the vessel and have final authority, Naruto declared firmly. Objection. Bellicus roared. Unprecedented. Serena noted with interest rather than opposition. Naruto pushed harder, drawing on his will and determination. I'm not asking to remake the universe or alter cosmic law. I just need to close one portal before my transformation reverts. To his surprise, the cosmic void around him shimmered in response to his determination. The threads connecting him to the celestial seal glowed brighter, reinforcing his authority within this shared consciousness. Interesting, Serena observed. The vessel possesses unusual spiritual authority. Must be the fox entity contained within him, Bellicus grumbled. Creates a precedent for shared consciousness negotiation. Motion to grant temporary executive authority to the vessel for the specific purpose of resolving the immediate dimensional anomaly, Serena proposed. Bellicus remained silent for a long moment before finally responding. Seconded, with extreme prejudice and notation of objection for the cosmic record. Suddenly, Naruto felt control returning to his transformed body. In the physical world, the celestial Sapien form raised one starry hand toward the portal. With a simple gesture, the dimensional rift began collapsing, its RGY flowing back into the celestial seal rather than dissipating. He's doing it, Sakura exclaimed. The portal is closing. Within moments, the rift sealed completely, leaving no trace of its existence. As the transformation timer reached its limit, emerald light enveloped Naruto once more, returning him to his human form. He immediately dropped to one knee, exhausted. That was intense. He managed between deep breaths. Hinata was first through the barrier, kneeling beside him with concern etched across her features. Are you all right, Naruto-kun? Your chakra was doing things I've never seen before. I'm fine, he assured her, accepting her offered hand to stand. Just mentally drained. Having an argument with two cosmic entities really takes it out of you. You were conscious in there? Kai asked, approaching with evident fascination. And communicating with the celestial Sapien personalities. Naruto nodded, leaning slightly against Hinata for support. Serena and Bellicus, the voices of love and rage. They called themselves. Had to convince them to let me close the portal. Remarkable, Tsunade commented, reviewing the readings from the monitoring equipment. The energy output during that transformation was off the charts, yet perfectly controlled at the molecular level. No collateral effects whatsoever. I think that's enough experimentation for one day, Sakura suggested, noting Naruto's fatigue. He needs rest. Agreed, Tsunade said. Naruto, take the remainder of the day off. Hinata, continue monitoring his chakra network for any delayed reactions. Kai, I'd like a complete analysis of that celestial Sapien transformation compared to what you know from your world. Of course, Kai agreed. Though I should mention, if Naruto can access and control Alien X with even limited effectiveness, the implications are significant. In my dimension, celestial Sapiens are considered among the most powerful beings in existence. As they left the hospital, Naruto walked between Hinata and Kai. His strength gradually returning. The morning's events had left all of them with more questions than answers, but also a growing understanding of the celestial seal's true potential. Ramen, Naruto suggested hopefully. I'm starving after all that transforming. Hinata smiled softly. That sounds perfect. I should really analyze this data, Kai began, holding up her notes. After lunch, Naruto insisted. Even interdimensional scientists need to eat. Ichiraku Ramen welcomed them with familiar warmth and delicious aromas. Tsuki greeted Naruto with customary enthusiasm. His weathered face breaking into a broad smile. My favorite customer. And with two lovely ladies today. He winked conspiratorially. Moving up in the world, Naruto. It's not like that, old man. Naruto protested, though his cheeks colored slightly. We're working on a research project together. Of course, Tsuki replied, clearly unconvinced. The usual for you and Hinata-san. And for your new friend. I'll have whatever Naruto recommends, Kai said, settling onto a stool beside him. Miso ramen with extra chashu, then, Naruto decided. Can't go wrong with the classics. As they waited for their food, Hinata quietly activated her Byakugan beneath the counter, checking Naruto's chakra network. Everything seems to be returning to normal, she reported softly. Though the seal patterns have definitely expanded further. I can feel it, Naruto confirmed, placing a hand over his abdomen. Like having a star inside me, warm and full of potential. Kai observed their interaction with anthropological interest. The integration between the seal and your existing energy system is remarkable. Far more elegant than the mechanical interface of the Omnitrix. Speaking of integration, Naruto said, lowering his voice, what happened with Alien X felt different from the other transformations. Not just physically becoming something else, but mentally connecting to actual entities. Celestial sapiens exist partially outside normal spacetime, Kai explained. Their consciousness spans multiple dimensions simultaneously. When you transform into one, you're not just adopting physical characteristics, you're temporarily joining a collective awareness. Like when I enter my mindscape to speak with Kurama, Naruto realized. Similar, but broader in scope. While your Nine Tails is a distinct entity sharing your physical form, celestial sapiens exist across all dimensions simultaneously. You weren't just speaking to personalities within yourself. You were connecting to cosmic consciousnesses that span reality itself. Hinata listened with fascination. That explains what I saw with my Byakugan. Your chakra didn't just transform, it expanded beyond my visual range. As though connecting to something vast. Their conversation paused as Chuki delivered 3 steaming bowls of ramen. Kai approached the unfamiliar dish with scientific curiosity, observing Naruto's enthusiastic consumption before attempting her own first taste. This is excellent, she declared after her initial bite. The broth has remarkable depth, umami components perfectly balanced with salt content. Told you, Naruto grinned, already halfway through his bowl. Ichiraku's is the best in the 5 nations. As they ate, the conversation shifted to GHTER topics. Kai asking about village customs and daily life, Hinata explaining various aspects of shinobi society, Naruto contributing animated anecdotes from his own experiences. For a brief interval, the weight of dimensional anomalies and cosmic transformations lifted, replaced by simple camaraderie. Their peaceful lunch was interrupted by a commotion outside, raised voices and the distinctive sound of shinobi moving rapidly across rooftops. Naruto immediately tensed, years of experience recognizing the sounds of village security measures activating. Something's happening, he said, placing money on the counter as he stood. Thank you for the meal, Chuki-san. We need to check this out. Outside, they found Anbu personnel directing civilians toward shelter areas while combat-ready Hinobi converged toward the village gates. What's going on? Naruto asked, stopping a passing Chunin. Unknown hostiles at the eastern perimeter, the ninja reported breathlessly. Appearance and C. Hakra signatures unlike anything in our records. Hokage has ordered defensive positioning. The 3 exchanged meaningful glances. Could be connected to the dimensional fluctuations, Kai suggested quietly. Let's find out, Naruto decided, leading them toward the eastern wall. They arrived to find Tsunade already on scene, coordinating the defensive response alongside Kakashi and other Jonin. A squadron of sand shinobi had also taken positions along the wall, an unexpected presence that indicated the situation extended beyond Konoha's borders. Naruto, Tsunade acknowledged as they approached. Perfect timing. We have visitors that might be connected to your recent activities. She gestured toward the forest beyond the village walls. Approximately 1 kilometer away, a group of humanoid figures stood at the tree line, their forms distinctly non-human even at this distance. Metallic exoskeletons reflected sunlight, and what appeared to be technological weapons adorned their limbs. Biosovortians. Kai identified immediately, visibly concerned. Technologically advanced species with electromagnetic manipulation abilities. Definitely not native to your dimension. Are yours? Kakashi asked sharply, his single visible eye assessing her with sudden intensity. No, but known in my universe, Kai confirmed. They're generally peaceful explorers, but can be dangerous if threatened. Naruto studied the distant figures. How did they get here without a visible portal? Unknown, Tsunade replied. Perimeter sensors detected them approximately 20 minutes ago, emerging from the forest already as a group. No dimensional disturbance was recorded, which means either the portals are opening without detection, or Kai's expression darkened, or they've been here longer than we realized. Gathering their numbers, a tall, Blonde kunoichi with 4 spiky ponytails stepped forward from among the sand contingent. Tamari, sister to the Kekkei and Suna's ambassador to Konoha. Our village experienced a similar incursion 3 days ago, she reported. Different entities, more insectoid in appearance, but definitely not of our world. Gaara sent me with a research team once we confirmed Konoha was experiencing similar phenomena. Why weren't we informed immediately? Tsunade demanded. We weren't certain of the connection until yesterday, Tamari replied evenly. When we received reports of unusual energy signatures around Uzumaki Naruto. Her teal eyes shifted to Naruto, sharp with intelligence and something less easily defined. The timing aligned perfectly with our own incident. Before further discussion could occur, movement from the distant group caught everyone's attention. One figure separated from the others, advancing slowly toward the V. Yaj with hands raised in what appeared to be a universal gesture of non-aggression. They're initiating contact, Kai observed. That's actually promising. Hostile species typically don't bother with diplomatic approaches. Nevertheless, we proceed with caution, Tsunade decided. She turned to Naruto. Your expertise is needed here, both your combat capabilities and whatever insights your new condition might provide. Naruto nodded, understanding the implicit authorization to use the celestial seal if necessary. I'll approach them. Kai should come with me, she knows their species. Hinata too, for Byakugan reconnaissance. I'm joining as well, Tamari stated rather than requested. As soon as representative and given our prior encounter. Tsunade considered the proposed team, then nodded. Agreed. Kakashi. Coordinate defensive positioning but maintain non-threatening posture unless signaled otherwise. The 4-person team departed through the village gates, crossing the open ground between Konoha's walls and the forest edge where the alien visitors waited. Naruto took point, with Hinata and Kai slightly behind him and Tamari flanking his right side, her giant iron fan ready at her back. Their electromagnetic capabilities can disrupt both technology and certain biological functions, Kai explained quietly as they approached. If they become hostile, target the nodes on their forearms. That's where the control mechanisms are located. Noted, Tamari replied, eyes forward and expression composed. Though I'd prefer avoiding combat with unknown entities on open ground. Agreed, Naruto said. Hinata, what do you see? Hinata had already activated her Byakugan, scanning the aliens with her enhanced vision. Their internal structures are unlike anything I've encountered. They appear to generate energy similar to lightning nature chakra, but more refined. The one approaching has a different internal configuration from the others, possibly a leader or specialist. As they neared meeting distance, Naruto noted details invisible from the wall. The aliens stood approximately 2 meters tall, their exoskeletons composed of articulated blue-black metal with architree-like patterns flowing beneath the surface. Their faces consisted of electronic displays rather than organic features, occasionally flickering with symbols reminiscent of the patterns in the celestial seal. The foremost alien stopped at a respectful distance, its display face shifting to show a simple mouth pattern that moved in sync with unexpected words. Greetings, celestial vessel. We have traveled far to verify your emergence. Naruto tensed, immediately wary of their knowledge. You know about the seal. The alien's display flickered again. We know of the celestial convergence. The awakening of a new catalyst between dimensions. Our instruments detected the resonance pattern 10 of your days ago. They're speaking our language perfectly, Hinata whispered, surprise evident in her voice. Universal translators, Kai explained. Standard technology for advanced species. Tamari maintained her composed expression, though her hand remained close to her fan. What exactly do you want with this catalyst? The alien's attention shifted to her, display patterns reconfiguring. We seek observation rights only. The emergence of a new celestial vessel is a rare cosmic event with implications for multiple dimensions. We represent the Dimensional Oversight Collective, a multi-species alliance dedicated to monitoring cross-dimensional phenomena. Convenient explanation, Tamari noted skeptically. But possibly legitimate, Kai countered. My dimension has similar organizations. Naruto studied the alien representative, instincts honed through years of determining friend from foe. Despite their otherworldly appearance, he sensed no immediate malice, but definitely purpose beyond simple observation. If you just wanted to observe, Why bring an armed group? He challenged, gesturing toward the weapons visible on the waiting aliens. Standard protection protocols when crossing dimensional boundaries, the representative explained. Many entities we encounter are hostile to extradimensional travelers. We intended no provocation. Throughout this exchange, Naruto noticed Hinata continuously scanning with her Byakugan, her expression growing increasingly troubled. What is it? He asked quietly. There's something unusual about their energy signatures, she replied, voice barely above a whisper. Fluctuations that don't match their visible technology. And the forest behind them. Before she could elaborate, the alien representative raised both arms in a formal gesture. We request formal diplomatic contact with your governance structure, and permission to establish a temporary observation post within your territorial boundaries. That's not my decision to make, Naruto replied cautiously. Our Hokage would need to. His response was interrupted by Hinata's sharp intake of breath. Movement in the trees, cloaked signatures. This is a diversion. The warning came precisely as multiple energy blasts erupted from the forest, aimed not at them but at Konoha's walls. Simultaneously, the aliens' apparent leader dropped its diplomatic posture, armor plates shifting to reveal concealed weapons. The catalyst must be contained, it declared, voice modulation changing from diplomatic to threatening. Secure the vessel. Naruto reacted instantly. Hinata, Temari, defense. Kai, get back toward the village. No further coordination was needed. Temari's fan snapped open with practiced precision, generating a powerful wind barrier that deflected the initial energy blasts. Hinata dropped into her gentle fist stance, Byakugan track-ing multiple approaching threats through the trees. 8 trigrams protective 64 palms. She called, hands moving in precise patterns that created a dome of chakra around their position, deflecting secondary attacks from flanking enemies. Naruto pressed his palm to the celestial seal, which was already glowing in response to the threat. Time to fight fire with fire. Transform. Emerald. D-light enveloped him as he selected a transformation suited for electrical defense. When the light faded, Naruto had become a humanoid composed of living radio waves contained within a metallic shell, identical to their attacker species. Feedback. Kai identified from behind Temari's wind barrier. Perfect choice. Biosovordian versus Biosovordian neutralizes their advantage. The alien attackers hesitated momentarily, clearly surprised by Naruto's transformation. He used their confusion to strike, extending conductor-like fingers toward the nearest attacker and literally absorbing the energy blast it had prepared. Thanks for the power-up. Naruto's transformed voice crackled with static as he redirected the absorbed energy at 3 approaching aliens, overloading their systems and sending them crashing into the trees. Temari proved why she was considered among the most formidable kunoichi in the 5 nations, her wind techniques precisely calculated to disrupt the aliens' NTS without interfering with Hinata's defensive perimeter. With each sweep of her massive fan, she created localized air pressure differentials that threw the attackers off balance. 7 hostiles approaching from the western flank. Hinata called out, hands never stopping their protective movements. Their technology is adapting to our chakra frequencies. Naruto, Kai shouted above the commotion. Biosovortions can't handle ionized plasma reconfiguration. Try converting the absorbed energy through your central conductor. Understanding instantly, Naruto focused on the energy he'd absorbed, mentally reconfiguring its properties before channeling it through the conductor coils extending from his transformed head. The resulting discharge created a wave of ionized plasma that washed over the advancing aliens, shorting out their systems and rendering their technology temporarily useless. The skirmish ended as quickly as it had begun. Within minutes, the alien attackers retreated, reeing their disabled comrades back into the forest. Their apparent leader, temporarily incapacitated by Hinata's precisely targeted chakra strike to its primary energy node, remained behind. As Konoha Shinobi secured the area, Naruto's transformation reverted, leaving him breathing heavily but otherwise unharmed. Everyone all right? He asked, checking his companions. Hinata deactivated her Byakugan, the veins around her eyes receding. Fine, just depleted. Despite her words, she remained vigilantly positioned between potential threats and Naruto, her protective instincts evident. Impressed, actually, Temari replied, collapsing her fan with a practiced motion. Her assessing gaze shifted between Naruto and their alien prisoner. That transformation was unexpected. It's a recent development, Naruto explained vaguely. Aware of the S-rank classification surrounding the celestial seal, Temari's lips curved into a knowing smile. Hence the unusual energy signatures our sensors detected. Gaara will be very interested in this report. Her expression became serious again as she turned toward their captive. Though I'm more concerned with what these beings want with you specifically. Tsunade arrived with a security detail, quickly assessing the situation before approaching their disabled prisoner. Take it to the secure containment facility, she ordered. Full isolation protocols. As Anbu operatives moved to comply, Kai stepped forward. With respect, Hokage-sama, standard containment won't hold a Biosovordian once its systems reboot. You'll need electromagnetic dampening fields. Tsunade raised an eyebrow but nodded. Assist the containment team with specifications. Kakashi, coordinate with her. As the prisoner was transported away, Tsunade turned to Naruto and his companions. Debrief in my office, immediately. Temari-san, as soon as representative, your presence is requested as well. The walk back through the village was tense, civilians watching cautiously from reopened shops and homes. Word of the brief conflict had spread quickly, though details remained vague, exactly as Tsunade preferred when dealing with unprecedented situations. In the Hokage's office, privacy seals activated once more as Naruto recounted the confrontation and the aliens' specific interest in what they called the catalyst and celestial vessel. They knew exactly what the seal is, he concluded, or at least what it represents. Which means these dimensional incursions are no accident, Tsunade stated grimly. They're targeted specifically toward you, Naruto. Not just targeted, Kai added. The terminology they used, celestial convergence, catalyst, suggests they've encountered something like the celestial seal before. This represents established knowledge in their dimension. Temari, who had listened attentively throughout, finally spoke. The incursion at our village makes more sense now. They weren't random explorers. They were searching for the source of this convergence. Her sharp gaze settled on Naruto. And found it in you. Tsunade nodded, which raises our security concerns significantly. Temari-san, I appreciate Suna's information sharing. Would the Kekkei be amenable to continued cooperation on this matter? Gaara already authorized full collaboration, Temari confirmed. He also offered Suna's archives for research, OU. Our historical records contain different information than Konoha's, particularly regarding dimensional phenomena observed in the desert regions. That could be valuable, Hinata noted. The ancient XTS we've found here are fragmented at best. Agreed, Tsunade said. I propose a joint research team, utilizing both villages' resources while maintaining the classified nature of the celestial seal. Naruto, who had remained uncharacteristically quiet during this exchange, finally spoke. I should go to Suna. All eyes turned toward him. The seal continues to evolve, he explained. If these incursions are targeting me specifically, keeping me in one place puts that location at risk. Moving between allied villages distributes that risk while allowing access to different research materials. Tsunade considered this logic, then nodded slowly. Sound reasoning. Temari-san, would the Kekkei approve such an arrangement? Without hesitation, Temari confirmed, a hint of admiration in her glance toward Naruto. Gaara holds Uzumaki Naruto in the highest regard. Our village's resources would be at his disposal. Then it's decided. Naruto will travel to Suna, accompanied by. Tsunade paused, considering personnel assignments. I should definitely go, Kai stated firmly. My knowledge of extradimensional species and technology will be essential if more incursions occur. As should I, Hinata added with unusual assertiveness. My Byakugan provides unique monitoring capabilities for both the seal's development and potential threats. Tsunade nodded. Agreed. Sakura will join you as well. Her medical expertise and combat capabilities round out the team effectively. She turned to Temari. When do you return to Suna? My diplomatic business concludes tomorrow, Temari replied. We could depart the following morning. Perfect. That gives us time to interrogate our prisoner and prepare appropriate equipment. Tsunade's expression became grave. This mission is classified S rank. The official parameters will indicate research into unusual chakra phenomena affecting multiple villages, with no specific mention of dimensional travelers or the celestial seal. Arrangements finalized. They left the Hokage Tower to prepare for their upcoming journey. Temari departed for the diplomatic residences, while Hinata returned to the Hyuga compound to gather research materials and secure clan permission for an extended mission. Naruto and Kai walked in contemplative silence toward his apartment, both processing the day's developments. They called you a catalyst, Kai finally said. That terminology has significant implications. What kind of implications? A catalyst doesn't just change, it facilitates change in everything around it. If these beings view the celestial seal as a catalyst, they believe it's not just transforming you, but potentially transforming reality itself. Naruto absorbed this sobering possibility. No pressure or anything, despite the gravity of the situation. Kai chuckled. A warm, genuine sound that Naruto realized he hadn't heard from her before. If it helps, in my experience, those who worry about handling great power are precisely the ones best suited to it. At his apartment, Naruto began gathering essential supplies for the journey to Suna. The desert environment required different equipment than standard missions, and the uncertain duration meant packing efficiently. You need sun protection, Kai advised, observing his selections. The UV radiation in desert regions can cause severe damage to unprotected skin. Speaking from extensive experience, she confirmed. I've conducted fieldwork in desert environments across multiple continents. The artifacts tend to preserve better in arid conditions. Their preparation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Naruto opened it to find Hinata, her normally calm demeanor slightly flustered. I've secured permission for the mission, she reported, entering when Naruto gestured her inside. Father was surprisingly supportive once I explained the importance. That's great, Naruto smiled. We were just figuring out what to pack. Hinata placed a small scroll on the table. I brought this from the Hyuga archives, techniques specifically designed for desert conditions. It includes a chakra-based cooling method that might be useful. Always thinking ahead, Naruto said appreciatively, causing Hinata to blush slightly. As evening approached, Sakura joined them, bringing additional medical supplies and information from Tsunade regarding their prisoner. The interrogation is progressing slowly, she reported. The alien's biological structure makes conventional techniques ineffective, but it has confirmed it belongs to Summit. Hing called the Dimensional Oversight Collective. That could be legitimate, Kai noted. Many advanced civilizations maintain observation protocols for unusual cosmic events. Or it could be a convenient cover story. Sakura countered pragmatically. Either way, Lady Tsunade wants us to proceed with caution. We'll have Anbu escorts for the first part of our journey to Suna, though they'll maintain distance to avoid drawing attention. They continued planning late into the night, reviewing maps and establishing contingency protocols. Eventually, Sakura and Hinata departed to complete their own preparations, leaving Naruto and Kai alone once more. 3 days to Suna, assuming normal travel pace, Naruto noted, studying the route map spread across his table. With potential dimensional incursions along the way, Kai added, though the seal hasn't triggered any portals without transformation since that first incident. Naruto absent-mindedly placed his hand over the celestial seal, feeling its now familiar warmth. It's strange. I've spent my whole life with one sealed entity inside me, learning to work with that power. Now there's this whole other aspect, connecting to beings across dimensions. Different power, same principle, Kai observed. Finding harmony between distinct energies. I suppose so. Naruto rolled up the map, securing it in his pack. We should get some rest. Early start tomorrow. Morning arrived with clear skies promising good travel conditions. The team assembled at Konoha's main gate. Naruto, Kai, Hinata, Sakura, and Temari, each equipped for the journey ahead. Tsunade herself came to see them off, providing last-minute instructions and a sealed scroll for the Kekkei's eyes only. 3 days to Suna if all goes well, she reminded them. Daily reports via secure summons. Any dimensional anomalies are to be documented but not engaged unless absolutely necessary. Understood, Hokage-sama, Sakura confirmed, accepting the medical authorization scroll that would grant her access to Suna's hospital facilities if needed. Naruto adjusted his pack, excitement mixing with apprehension. Despite the serious circumstances, part of him welcomed the change of scenery and new challenges ahead. The celestial seal seemed to respond to his mood, a pleasant warmth radiating from his core. "Ready?" he asked his companions. Hinata nodded determinedly, Byakugan briefly activating to scan the surrounding area before they departed. "Always," Tamari replied with a confident smile, already turning toward the path leading to her homeland. "Ready as one can be when traveling between villages in a dimension not my own," Kai added with dry humor, falling into step beside Naruto. Sakura double-checked her medical pack one final time. "Let's hope this is a boring, uneventful journey." "When is anything ever boring or uneventful with Naruto involved?" Tsunade commented with resigned affection. "Be careful, all of you. We're navigating uncharted territory in more ways than one." With final farewells completed, the team departed through Konoha's massive gates, beginning the journey toward Suna and whatever discoveries awaited them there. The rising sun cast their shadows long across the path ahead, 5 figures moving with purpose toward an uncertain future where dimensions themselves seemed to be converging around one unexpectedly central figure. As they traveled, Naruto couldn't help noticing the subtle dynamics forming within their group: Hinata's quiet attentiveness, Temari's assessing glances, Kai's scientific curiosity, and Sakura's protective monitoring. 4 exceptional women, each bringing unique strengths to this unprecedented mission. The celestial seal pulsed gently beneath his jacket, as if acknowledging the gathering of forces around its vessel. Whatever this power was truly meant for, whatever catalyst role the alien beings believed he represented, Naruto determined to face it as he had every preview. As challenge, with unwavering determination and the support of those who chose to stand beside him. Behind them, Konoha diminished in the distance as they crossed into the wider world, where dimension boundaries grew thinner with each passing day. Chapter 2 End Chapter 3, Blood and Chakra. Desert heat shimmered across endless dunes as Naruto's team approached Sunagaku's imposing cliffside entrance. 3 days of travel had transformed green forests to scrubland and finally to the vast sand sea surrounding the hidden sand village. The journey had been surprisingly uneventful, perhaps too uneventful, leaving them all with a lingering sense of anticipation. "Home," Tamari breathed, visible relief softening her usually sharp features. Wind tugged at her 4 blonde ponytails as she led Hem toward the narrow canyon serving as Suna's natural fortification. Naruto studied the impressive sandstone formations concealing the village. Though he'd visited before, the desert settlement's street arc beauty always struck him anew, a testament to human determination thriving in the harshest conditions. Beneath his jacket, the celestial seal hummed with unusual energy, its patterns shifting subtly as they approached. "You feel it too," Kai observed quietly, walking beside him. Her anthropologist keen eye had missed nothing during their journey, including his occasional adjustments to relieve the seal's persistent tingling. Naruto nodded. "Different from before. Not uncomfortable, just resonant. Like the seal recognizes something here." "Perhaps it does," Hinata suggested from his other side. Her voice soft but steady, a confident undercurrent that had been developing throughout their journey. The ancient texts mentioned the Uzumaki clan had connections with early sand village sealing experts. Ancient desert cultures often developed sophisticated astronomical knowledge, Kai added. If the celestial seal draws power from cosmic alignments as we suspect, this environment might amplify those connections. Sakura, who'd been monitoring Naruto's vital signs throughout their journey, adjusted her pack with practiced efficiency. "We'll run a complete diagnostic once we're settled. Your temperature has been fluctuating since we entered the desert region." "I'm fine," Naruto assured her, though he appreciated the concern. "Just different energy patterns." Sand guards stationed at the canyon entrance straightened as they approached, recognition flashing across their faces at the sight of Tamari. The lead guard stepped forward, offering a formal bow. "Tamari-sama, welcome home. Kekkei-sama awaits your arrival." "These are the Konoha specialists," Tamari replied, her authoritative tone leaving no room for questioning. "They're expected." The guards stepped aside, allowing their group passage through the winding canyon corridor that served as Suna's first line of defense. Natural rock walls towered overhead, casting cool shadows after days of relentless sun exposure. Despite the shade, Naruto noticed sweat beading along Hinata's brow, The Hyuga's fair complexion ill-suited to desert conditions despite her diligent application of protective balms Sakura had provided. Almost there, he encouraged, resisting an instinctive urge to wipe the moisture from her temple. Hinata offered a determined smile in return. I'm fine. The Hyuga compounds incorpora cooling systems based on sand architecture. I've studied the principles. The passage gradually widened, revealing Sunagakur proper, a sprawling arrangement of domed sandstone structures rising natural formations from the desert floor. Unlike Konoha's verdant scenery, Suna embraced its harsh environment, incorporating wind-smoothed curves and natural cooling systems into every building. Architectural ingenuity at its finest. Kai murmured, her researcher's passion evident as she absorbed the village layout. Form following function across cultural development. The Kekkei Tower is centrally located. Tamari explained, leading them through winding streets where villagers offered respectful greetings. Gaara has prepared dedicated research facilities for our project. The CENTRAL administrative building rose above surrounding structures, its distinctive spherical design bearing the symbol of Wind Country. Inside, cool air circulated through cleverly designed vents, providing immediate relief from desert heat. Tamari led them directly to the top floor, where her youngest brother awaited. Gaara stood at his office window, hands clasped behind his back as he observed his village. Though only 18, the Kekkei carried himself with quiet authority that commanded immediate respect. He turned as they entered, pale green eyes settling on Naruto with evident warmth. Beneath his habitually controlled expression, "Welcome to Sunagakur," he greeted, moving forward to grasp Naruto's forearm in the traditional gesture between allied shinobi. "Though I wish the circumstances were less concerning. When are they ever simple with us?" Naruto grinned, returning the gesture with genuine affection for his fellow Jinchuriki. Gaara's lips curved slightly, the closest he typically came to a smile. Indeed, his attention shifted to the others, acknowledging each with a respectful nod before settling on Kai. "You must be the interdimensional specialist. Your presence here is unprecedented." In multiple ways, Kai agreed, studying him with unconcealed interest. "You're significantly younger than I expected for a head of state." "Age and capability aren't always correlated," Gaara replied mildly. "As I understand, you come from a world where similar principles apply." Perceptive observation, Kai acknowledged with growing respect. Gaara returned to his desk, activating privacy seals with a casual gesture. Sand particles rose from specialized containers, forming a glittering barrier around the room's perimeter. "My own design," he explained, noting Kai's fascination. "Sand infused with chakra-sensitive minerals creates a barrier impervious to conventional surveillance techniques." His expression grew serious. "Now, please explain exactly what we're facing." For the next hour, they detailed recent events: the Celestial Seal's emergence, Kai's arrival, the alien incursion, and their developing theories. Naruto demonstrated the seal's expanded pattern, which now extended from his lower abdomen to just below his collarbone in increasingly complex geometric configurations. Gaara listened without interruption, only occasionally glancing at Ari when her observations supplemented their account. When they finished, he remained silent for several moments, fingers steepled beneath his chin in contemplation. The ancient Uzumaki clan had significant connections to this region, he finally stated. Long before Sunagakur's founding, nomadic seal masters traveled these deserts, studying celestial alignments and recording their observations. On cave walls that still exist in remote locations. "You've found Uzumaki records here?" Naruto asked, surprise evident in his voice. Gaara nodded. "Not recognized as such until recently. Our IVISTS were cataloging pre-village artifacts when they discovered distinctive sealing patterns matching fragments in Konoha's restricted archives. The symbols match those now appearing on your body. That can't be coincidence," Sakura noted. "Indeed not," Gaara agreed. "Which is why I've arranged access to these sites as part of your research here. The most significant cave system is located Wode's journey from the village, sacred ground that predates shinobi village structures altogether." "When can we leave?" Naruto asked eagerly. "Tomorrow, if you wish. Tonight, you should rest and acclimate to desert conditions." Gaara stood, signaling the meeting's conclusion. "Appropriate accommodations have been prepared in the diplomatic residence. Tamari will ensure you have everything Dead for both your stay and the upcoming expedition. There's one more thing, Hinata ventured, speaking for the first time since entering the Kekkei's presence. With your permission, Kekkei-sama, I would like to examine Suna's historical maps with my Byakugan. Ancient chakra residue sometimes remains visible centuries after inscription, potentially revealing details lost to conventional observation. Gaara considered this request with evident interest. An excellent suggestion. Our head archivist will provide whatever assistance you require. As they prepared to depart, he addressed Naruto privately. A moment, if you would. The others exited, leaving the two Jinchuriki alone in the Kekkei's office. Sand barriers remained active, ensuring complete privacy. There's something you should know, Gaara said quietly, moving to a concealed cabinet behind his desk. Something not included in official records. He retrieved an ancient scroll case made of polished bone, its surface covered with faded symbols matching those on Naruto's seal. This was discovered buried beneath the foundation stone of what eventually became this tower. Radiocarbon dating places it approximately 1,000 years old, predating the village system entirely. Naruto accepted the case carefully, feeling immediate resonance with the celestial seal. What's inside? We don't know, Gaara admitted. Cheese sealed with blood requirements that match no known bloodline. Given recent developments, I believe it may require Uzumaki blood combined with whatever energy now flows through your seal. Naruto studied the artifact, fingers tracing patterns identical to those on his abdomen. Worth trying, he agreed. Though maybe with some safety precautions. Gaara's expression remained solemn. One more thing, Naruto. Since your transformation abilities became active, have you experienced visitors in your mindscape? Beyond your Biju? The question caught Naruto off guard. You mean like Sarah, Na and Bellicus, the celestial sapien personalities? Only when I used that specific transformation. I see. Gaara turned toward the window, momentarily lost in thought. Shukaku has been restless since your seal activated. Even sealed away, he senses something that disturbs him greatly. He calls it the crossing of boundaries never meant to be crossed. Kurama hasn't mentioned anything specific, Naruto replied, concern growing. Though he's been unusually quiet lately. Perhaps you should ask him directly, Gaara suggested. The Biju existed before human civilization, their perspective on dimensional boundaries might prove valuable. They rejoined the others, who waited in the corridor outside. Tamari led them through Suna's winding streets toward the diplomatic residence, a comfortable building situated near the village center, designed specifically for distinguished visitors. Individual rooms for everyone, she explained as they entered the cool interior. Common areas for research and planning. The kitchen is fully stocked, and village resources are at your disposal. These accommodations are generous, Hinata observed, admiring the traditional Suna architecture seamlessly combined with modern comforts. The Kekkei values this alliance, Tamari replied with characteristic directness, and holds particular respect for Konoha shinobi who assisted during our time of need. As the others settled into their assigned rooms, Naruto found a quiet courtyard at the residence's center, a small oasis featuring a recirculating water feature and shade-providing desert plants. Perfect for the conversation he needed to have. Settling into meditative posture, he closed his eyes and focused inward, following the familiar path to his mindscape. The corridor materialized around him. But something had indeed changed since his last visit. The usual standing water had receded, and the walls bore faint traces of the same geometric patterns now covering his torso. At the corridor's end, Kurama waited behind his massive gates, nine tails swishing with agitation. About time you visited, the fox grumbled, though without real anger. Things are changing, Kit. I've noticed, Naruto replied. Approaching the massive cage, Gaara said Shukaku is disturbed by something. Called it crossing boundaries never meant to be crossed. Kurama snorted. Dramatic as always, that Tanuki. But not entirely wrong. The massive fox shifted position, bringing his face closer to the bars. What's happening with this seal isn't just transformation, it's dimensional thinning. Barriers between worlds are weakening, specifically around you. Is that dangerous? Depends on your definition of danger, Kurama replied cryptically. The dimensions were separated for a reason, Kit. Different laws of physics, different energy systems, Different beings, some benevolent, others, not so much. Like the aliens who attacked us. Small concerns compared to what might eventually notice this thinning. Kurama's massive eyes narrowed. There are entities in the spaces between dimensions that make the Biju look like playful kittens. Naruto absorbed this troubling information. The seal keeps expanding. New transformation options appear almost daily now. It's responding to the thinning, Kurama explained. Originally designed as a bridge between specific dimensions. It's now adapting to maintain equilibrium as more pathways open. Each transformation essentially creates a template, a stable connection to that specific dimensional frequency. You know a lot about this, Naruto observed. More than you've shared before. Kurama was silent for a moment, massive tails stilling. The Sage of Six Paths spoke of the Celestial Seal, not by that name, but by its function. He called it the Divine Archive, a means for worthy vessels to access powers beyond normal human understanding when facing threats of cosmic significance. Like Kekkei, potentially greater threats. Kurama's expression grew grave. The Biju were created to maintain balance within this world. The Celestial Seal was designed for threats coming from beyond it. Their conversation was interrupted by a strange rippling in the mindscape, like reality itself wavering. Both Naruto and Kurama tensed as geometric patterns along the walls brightened, forming temporary connections to somewhere else. Someone's scanning for you, Kurama growled. Searching across dimensional frequencies. Hostile. Unclear. The fox replied, eyes tracking the energy patterns. But powerful. The seal is blocking direct contact for now. Anything I can do. Wake up, Kurama advised urgently. This connection is too exposed. Whatever's searching can track you more easily in the mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes with a gasp. Returning to the courtyard. Evening had fallen during his meditation, stars appearing in the desert sky with remarkable clarity. The celestial seal pulsed with unusual warmth. Its patterns faintly visible through his thin shirt. There you are, Sakura's voice called as she entered the courtyard. We were about to send a search party. Sorry, Naruto replied, standing and brushing sand from his clothes. Was talking with Kurama. Lost track of time. Sakura studied him with a medic's scrutiny. Your chakra fluctuations are increasing. I can sense them without specialized equipment now. Yeah, something's definitely happening, Naruto admitted. Kurama says dimensional boundaries are thinning around me. The seal is trying to compensate by creating stable transformation templates. That matches our observations, she nodded. Come inside. Kai and Hinata have been analyzing the artifacts Gaara provided. And dinner's ready. Inside, they found tea. The common room transformed into an impromptu research center. Ancient scrolls and modern analytical equipment covered every surface. Hinata sat cross-legged on a cushion, Byakugan activated as she stew. A fragile map spread carefully on the floor before her. Kai operated what appeared to be a hybrid of scientific instruments and ceiling arrays, meticulously recording measurements. Tamari entered from the kitchen area, carrying a tray of traditional Suna cuisine, spiced rice, grilled desert fowl, and flatbread with various accompaniments. The domestic activity seemed at odds with her usual battlefield intensity, though she performed it with the same efficient precision. Perfect timing, she noted, setting the tray on the single clear table. Eat while it's hot. Desert nights get cold quickly. This looks amazing, Naruto praised, genuinely impressed as his stomach rumbled appreciatively. Temari's expression softened momentarily. Old family recipes. Our mother taught Konkuro basic cooking before she died. He passed some techniques to me. This glimpse into the Sand siblings' rarely mentioned family life created a brief, intimate moment, one that Naruto, who understood the significance of family connections for orphans, appreciated deeply. As they gathered around the table, Hinata carefully rolled the ancient map she'd been studying. The chakra traces reveal additional locations not marked on the visible surface, she reported, accepting a plate from Tamari with a grateful nod. 7 sites forming a constellation pattern across the desert region, matching the celestial seal's central configuration. Kai added, displaying a diagram comparing the map coordinates with the geometric pattern at the center of Naruto's seal. Too precise to be coincidence. 1C. Te lies directly beneath Sunagakur itself, Hinata continued. Specifically beneath the Kekkei Tower, likely why the scroll case was found there during Foundation excavation. Naruto described his conversation with Kurama and Gaara's revelation about the sealed bone scroll case. He thinks it might respond to a combination of Uzumaki blood and the celestial seal's energy. Blood-keyed sealing techniques were an Uzumaki specialty, Sakura noted. Though combining it with extra-dimensional energy introduces unknown variables. We should attempt it under controlled conditions, Kai suggested. Perhaps during tomorrow's expedition to the cave system Gaara mentioned. Ancient sites often contain natural energy convergence points that could stabilize the reaction. Conversation flowed easily as they ate, discussing theories and plans for the coming days. Despite the serious circumstances bringing them together, a comfortable camaraderie had developed among the diverse group, Naruto's natural charisma and leadership creating cohesion between different personalities and specialties. After dinner, Temari excused herself to report to her brother, leaving the Konoha team to continue their research. As night deepened, fatigue eventually overcame even the most determined among them. We should rest, Sakura finally suggested, noting Hinata's increasingly frequent blinks as she struggled to maintain Byakugan focus. Tomorrow's expedition requires full alertness. They dispersed to their individual rooms, though Naruto lingered in the common area, restless energy preventing immediate sleep. Kai remained as well, meticulously organizing notes from their day's discoveries. Something's bothering you, she observed without looking up from her work. That obvious. You're right. Foot taps when you're processing concern, she replied matter-of-factly. Anthropologist, remember, observing behavioral patterns is literally my job. Naruto chuckled despite his unease. Fair enough. He moved to the window, gazing at Suna's starlit panorama. Kurama mentioned entities between dimensions that make the Biju look harmless in comparison. If boundaries keep thinning, you're worried about what might eventually come through, Kai finished, setting aside her notes to join him at the window. Wouldn't you be? Of course, she agreed. But I've also learned something important. And through my work with Ben and the plumbers, dimensional boundaries exist for a reason, but so do dimensional crossings. Balance requires both separation and connection. Her calm scientific perspective offered unexpected comfort. They stood in companionable silence watching stars shimmer above Suna's sleeping forms. You should attempt another transformation tomorrow, Kai suggested eventually. In the cave system, if these sites truly represent dimensional convergence points as I suspect, transformation there might provide new insights into controlling the process. Worth trying, Naruto agreed. Though preferably without opening portals to insect-filled desert planets. Kai's laugh, warm and genuine, surprised them both. I make no promises about the insect situation, but I'll bring extra specimen containers just in case. Quote, morning arrived with preparations for their expedition to the ancient cave system. Gaara himself arrived as they finished breakfast, accompanied by a small contingent of elite sand shinobi. Security precautions, he explained, noting Naruto's questioning glance at the additional personnel. The caves are located in a remote region where desert bandits occasionally operate. Nothing we can't handle, but better prepared than surprised. They departed as the sun cleared the eastern dunes, traveling via specialized sand skimmers, lightweight vessels that glided across the desert surface using wind nature chakra. Gaara piloted the lead skimmer with Naruto and Kai, while Temari navigated the second vessel carrying Hinata, Sakura, and essential equipment. These are amazing, Naruto commented, watching dunes blur past at remarkable speed. Much better than walking. Desert technology evolves from necessity, Gaara replied, hands steady on the vessel's control column. These incorporate sealing techniques inspired by Uzumaki scrolls found in our archives, another connection between our peoples predating the village system. By midday, they'd raveled far beyond Suna's protective cliffs into true desert wilderness, a seemingly endless expanse of rolling dunes broken occasionally by rocky outcroppings. The sun beat down mercilessly, though SPECI eased cooling seals in their vehicles maintained comfortable internal temperatures. Approaching the first marker, Gaara announced, adjusting their course toward a particular rock formation barely distinguishable from countless others dotting the landscape. As they drew closer, Naruto felt the celestial seal respond, a pleasant warmth spreading from his core throughout his body. Something's definitely here, he confirmed. The seal recognizes it. They disembarked near the stone formation, a natural arch weathered by millennia of desert winds. At first glance, it appeared entirely ordinary. But Hinata's activated Byakugan immediately revealed otherwise. Chakra patterns beneath the surface, she reported, moving toward the arch with focused concentration. Ancient, but still active. They respond to Naruto-kun's proximity. Gaara approached a specific section of stone, placing his palm against an unremarkable surface. Sand particles rose at his command, extracting themselves on the rock face to reveal intricate sealing patterns previously concealed within the stone itself. Remarkable preservation technique, Kai murmured, recording the process with scientific precision. Incorporating the seals within the natural material rather than applying them to the surface. The revealed patterns matched those on Naruto's torso with unmistakable precision, concentric geometric shapes orbiting central spirals in complex mathematical relationships. As Naruto approached, they began to glow with faint blue-green light. "They're activating," Gaara observed. "Responding to your presence specifically." Naruto placed his hand against the central pattern, immediately feeling resonance with his own seal. "It's like recognizing a familiar chakra signature, but different. More fundamental. The cave entrance should reveal itself if the recognition is complete," Gaara explained. Ancient records describe a doorway appearing when the celestial vessel approaches the threshold. For several moments, nothing happened. Then Hinata noticed something with her Byakugan. The patterns are drawing chakra from Naruto-kun, but not enough to trigger full activation. It needs more. Maybe it needs the celestial seal's energy directly, Kai suggested. Not just proximity. Understanding immediately, Naruto focused on the now familiar sensation of his transformative ability. Rather than selecting a specific form, he simply channeled the seal's raw energy to his palm. Emerald light glowed beneath his skin, flowing into the ancient patterns. Stone rumbled beneath the feet as the entire arch began reconfiguring, segments sliding apart to reveal a downward-sloping passage previously hidden within the rock formation itself. Cool air rushed upward from the darkness, carrying scents of mineral-rich earth and something less identifiable, something ancient and somehow expectant. "I love when ancient mechanisms actually work," Kai remarked, her scientific enthusiasm evident as she adjusted equipment to record their discovery. "Security formation," Gaara instructed his shinobi, who immediately established a perimeter around the newly revealed entrance. "2 remain outside, 2 accompany us." Standard archaeological protocol. Specially prepared light sources illuminated their descent into the earth. The passage was surprisingly well preserved, not rough-hewn, but precisely engineered with smooth walls bearing continuous sealing patterns that glowed faintly in response to Naruto's presence. "These aren't just decorative," Hinata observed, studying the patterns with her Byakugan. "They're functional, channeling energy through the entire structure." "A chakra circuit," Sakura suggested. "More sophisticated than that," Kai corrected, examining wall sections with specialized instruments. "These incorporate dimensional mathematics beyond your current scientific understanding. They're not just channeling energy, they're focusing it across dimensional frequencies." The passage eventually opened into a large circular chamber whose dome ceiling portrayed a star map rendered in luminescent minerals. At the chamber's center stood a raised stone platform, bearing a single pedestal carved from what appeared to be solid crystal. The celestial altar, Gaara identified, consulting ancient references soon as archivists had provided. Where vessels commune, with entities beyond the veil of stars. As they entered the chamber fully, wall sections illuminated sequentially, revealing elaborate murals depicting humanoid figures surrounded by transformative energy. Each figure demonstrated different abilities: elemental manipulation, physical transformation, energy projection, while maintaining distinctive spiral patterns across their bodies. Previous vessels, Naruto realized. Studying the ancient depictions, they could transform like I can. "Look at this one," Hinata called, examining a particularly detailed mural. The painted figure stood within a geometric matrix identical to the celestial seal's central configuration, arms extended as energy flowed between them in 9 distinctive silhouettes arranged in a circle. The Biju, Gaara identified immediately. This depicts interaction between the celestial seal and the tailed beasts. "Not just interaction," Naruto said slowly, understanding dawning as he studied the ancient depiction. "Harmonization." The figure is balancing energies between dimensions and the Biju, which suggests the Sage of Six Paths knew about the celestial seal, Sakura reasoned. Perhaps even incorporated its principles when creating the Biju. This contradicts conventional historical understanding, Gaara noted, genuine surprise evident in his usually composed expression. We've always believed the Biju were created solely from the Ten Tails chakra. Perhaps they were, Kai suggested, but with dimensional principles incorporated into their fundamental structure. It would explain their unusual chakra properties compared to naturally occurring energy in your world. Their discussion was interrupted as the crystal pedestal at the chamber's center suddenly activated, glowing with the same emerald energy that characterized Naruto's transformations. The bone scroll case Gaara had entrusted to him vibrated in response, practically jumping from his pack. It's responding to this location, Naruto realized. Carefully removing the ancient artifact. The pedestal appears designed as an interface mechanism, Kai observed, scanning it with her instruments. Likely keyed to specific genetic and energy signatures, exactly as Gaara predicted. Naruto approached cautiously, the ancient case growing warmer in his hands as he neared the crystal structure. Intricate patterns carved into the pedestal's surface matched those on both the case and his own body with perfect precision. I think it needs to be placed there. He indicated a specifically shaped depression in the crystal surface. Proceed with caution, Gaara advised. We have no way of knowing what activation might trigger. Naruto carefully positioned the bone case in the designated receptacle. It settled into place with a satisfying click. But nothing further occurred. The chamber remained unchanged, the case simply sitting in its apparently intended location. Maybe it needs the blood component, Hinata suggested. As Gaara-sama theorized, Sakura removed a sterile kunai from her medical kit. A small amount should suffice, she advised, preparing to make a controlled incision on Naruto's palm. Wait, Temari interjected, stepping forward. The murals show multiple figures, not just the vessel alone. Perhaps the activation requires more than one blood contributor. Temari-san is correct, Hinata confirmed, examining the pedestal with her Byakugan. There are multiple receptor channels within the crystal structure, designed for different blood types to flow simultaneously. How many? Sakura asked, professional interest engaged. 5 distinct channels, Hinata replied after careful examination. Temari's lips curved into a sardonic smile. Convenient, considering our current party. Or perhaps not coincidence at all. Kai suggested. 5-point symmetry appears repeatedly in the celestial seal's geometry. The number likely holds mathematical significance in the activation sequence. So all of us contribute. Naruto confirmed, looking around at his 4 female companions. That would be the logical conclusion, Gaara agreed. Though each person should consider carefully. Blood-based sealing techniques create binding connections between contributors and the activated mechanism. I'm willing, Hinata stated without hesitation, pale eyes reflecting absolute certainty. As am I, Temari added, meeting her brother's concerned gaze with characteristic determination. This involves Suna's history as much as Konoha's. The medical value alone justifies participation, Sakura decided. Professional curiosity overriding caution. Besides, someone needs to monitor for adverse reactions. From an anthropological perspective, I couldn't possibly refuse such an opportunity, Kai concluded. Interdimensional blood ritual in an ancient sacred site. This will make a fascinating chapter in my research papers, assuming we survive, of course. Despite the gravity of the situation, Naruto couldn't suppress a smile at their collective willingness. These 4 remarkable women, each bringing unique strengths and perspectives, had committed themselves to this journey alongside him without reservation. Sakura prepared 5 shallow receptacles positioned around the pedestal's perimeter, each connecting to one of the internal channels Hinata had identified. With practiced medical precision, she created small incisions on each person's palm, allowing blood to flow into the designated vessels. As 5 blood samples entered the crystal structure, the pedestal illuminated Rom within, light flowing through internal channels to the central chamber containing the bone scroll case. The case itself began to glow, its ancient seals activating as the combined blood offerings satisfied dormant requirements. With a soft click, the case opened, revealing its long-hidden contents, not a scroll, as they had expected, but a crystalline key approximately 20 centimeters in length. covered in the same geometric patterns that characterized the celestial seal. A key? Naruto questioned, staring at the unexpected artifact. Not just any key, Kai breathed, instruments recording unprecedented energy readings. A dimensional key. In my universe, similar devices allow controlled navigation between specific realities. Before anyone could respond, the chamber around them transformed. The star map on the ceiling shifted, celestial bodies realigning to match current astronomical positions rather than their ancient configurations. The murals along the walls animated briefly. Why? Painted figures moving through complete transformation sequences before settling into their original positions. The crystal pedestal retracted into the floor, leaving the dimensional key hovering in midair, supported by its own energy field. Simultaneously, a new feature emerged from the chamber's far wall, a massive door of unfamiliar material, its surface covered with interlocking geometric patterns matching the celestial seal's most complex configurations. That wasn't there before, Naruto stated unnecessarily, everyone staring at the impossible architectural addition. Because it doesn't exist in our dimension entirely, Kai explained, fascination overriding concern as she recorded the phenomenon. It's a dimensional gateway, partially manifested in our reality but anchored elsewhere. The hovering key rotated slowly, aligning itself toward the newly appeared door. Without physical contact, Naruto felt the celestial seal respond, warmth spreading through his chest as patterns across his torso illuminated beneath his clothing. It's connected to you, Hinata observed. Byakugan tracking energy flows between Naruto, the key, and the mysterious door. The same energy signature flows through all three. Should I? Naruto gestured toward the key, uncertain whether to take it. Carefully, Gaara advised, sand swirling protectively around their group. Be prepared to withdraw immediately if anything seems threatening. Naruto approached slowly, extending his hand toward the floating artifact. As his fingers neared, the key's rotation accelerated briefly before settling into perfect stillness. He grasped it cautiously, surprised by its comfortable warmth and negligible weight despite its crystalline appearance. The moment his hand closed around the key, knowledge flooded his consciousness, not in words but in pure understanding, similar to the instinctive information that accompanied his transformations. This key allowed controlled access to specific dimensional coordinates, creating stable pathways where the vessel required transit. It's meant for the door, he stated with newfound certainty, turning toward the massive gateway. As he approached, the door's surface patterns rearranged themselves, forming a distinctive lock mechanism at precisely his height. The key in his hand vibrated gently, eager for its intended purpose. Whatever's on the other side, Naruto said, glancing back at his companions, I'm pretty sure this is just a first step. The key showed me many doors, many destinations. Proceed, Gaara directed, though his sand shield remained at ready. But maintain awareness for immediate extraction if necessary. Naruto inserted the crystalline key into the perfectly matched receptacle. It entered smoothly, settling into PLACE with a satisfying resonance that vibrated through the chamber. With deliberate motion, he turned the key, once clockwise, then counterclockwise, following the pattern revealed in his momentary knowledge download. The massive door responded immediately, not swinging open as conventional architecture would dictate, but reconfiguring itself molecule by molecule. Its surface flowed like liquid while maintaining perfect geometric precision, creating an opening approximately 2 meters in diameter. Beyond the threshold lay not another rock chamber, but an entirely different environment, a vast crystalline structure extending in all directions, its architecture defined by mathematical precision and luminescent energy pathways. The space existed clearly in another dimension entirely, yet remained perfectly accessible through the newly opened doorway. Incredible, Kai whispered, instruments recording frantically. A pocket dimension, stable, self-contained, yet accessible through calibrated connection points. It's beautiful, Hinata added, Byakugan revealing the structure's full complexity beyond normal visual range. The energy flows form perfect harmonic patterns. Naruto felt undeniable connection to the space beyond the threshold, a sense of rightness and belonging that transcended logical explanation. The celestial seal practically hummed with recognition, its patterns glowing visibly even through his clothing. I think this is meant for me, he said quietly. For the vessel, that seems evident, Gaara agreed. Though whether solely for you or for all who participated in the blood offering remains unclear. Quote, testing this question, Naruto stepped carefully through the doorway. The transition felt perfectly natural. No disorientation or resistance, simply stepping one reality to another with less effort than crossing a conventional threshold. Inside, the crystalline environment responded to his presence, pathways illuminating in sequence, leading toward a central chamber visible in the distance. The atmosphere felt neither warm nor cool, neither moist nor dry, perfectly neutral, as though calibrated specifically for human comfort. "Can you hear me?" he called back through the doorway, where his companions waited with varying expressions of concern and fascination. Clearly, Sakura confirmed, no dimensional distortion in audio transmission. "The environment seems stable and non-threatening," he reported. "I'm going to try something." Focusing on the celestial seal, Naruto selected a transformation suited for environmental analysis. Emerald Light enveloped him momentarily before revealing his transformed state, a mechanical being composed of nanobots with enhanced sensory capabilities. Gray matter, Kai identified from the doorway. LVAN form, brilliant choice for analytical purposes. In this transformed state, Naruto's intelligence and perception increased exponentially. The crystalline environment revealed itself as a sophisticated technological system far beyond anything existing in his home dimension, a perfect fusion of organic and inorganic components designed specifically to interface with the celestial seal. "This is fascinating." His transformed voice sounded higher-pitched and more technically precise. "This entire structure functions as both archive and amplification system for the celestial seal. It's designed to store transformation templates and stabilize dimensional pathways. Can the others enter safely?" Gaara asked from the threshold. Naruto's enhanced mind calculated variables with incredible speed. Those who contributed blood to the activation ritual should be recognized by the system. Others would likely trigger security protocols. Hinata stepped forward first, crossing the dimensional threshold with characteristic grace despite obvious apprehension. The crystalline environment acknowledged her presence with subtle illumination along pathways near her position. "It recognizes you," Naruto observed in his Galvan form, analyzing the system's response patterns. "Different from my recognition, but definitely permitted access." Encouraged by this success, Kai joined them next, her scientific curiosity overwhelming any hesitation. Sakura followed, medical scanner already active as she analyzed the dimensional environment's effects on human physiology. Temari entered last, maintaining tactical awareness as she assessed the unusual surroundings. Gaara should remain outside, Naruto suggested, his enhanced intelligence perceiving potential complications. "If something unexpected occurs, having an anchor in our home dimension would be prudent." The Kekkei nodded in agreement. "I'll secure this location. Proceed with exploration, but maintain regular communication." With Gaara and his shinobi guarding the doorway, the 5 blood-linked companions ventured deeper into the crystalline structure. Pathways illuminated ahead of them, clearly guiding their journey toward the central chamber Naruto had observed upon entry. "This architecture defies conventional physics," Kai noted, recording everything with meticulous precision. "The crystalline matrices exist partially in quantum superposition, simultaneously physical and energetic. The chakra flows are unlike anything in our dimension," Hinata added, Byakugan perceiving aspects invisible to normal sight. "They form networks similar to natural energy paths, but with mathematical precision impossible in organic systems." As Naruto's transformation timer approached its limit, the group reached their apparent destination, a vast spherical chamber whose interior surface displayed what appeared to be star maps of multiple dimensions. At the chamber's center floated a crystalline matrix identical in pattern to the celestial seal on Naruto's body. The transformation reverted in a flash of emerald light, returning Naruto to his human form. Despite losing gray matter's enhanced intelligence, he retained intuitive understanding of their surroundings, knowledge seemingly provided by the environment itself. "It's a nexus," he explained, approaching the floating matrix. "A control center for dimensional pathways connected to the celestial seal." "And those?" Temari asked, gesturing toward 5 crystalline pedestals arranged in a perfect pentagon around the central matrix. "Interface points," Naruto replied with certainty, though unsure how he knew this. For those connected to the vessel through the blood ritual, each pedestal bore distinctive markings corresponding to the individual who had contributed blood to the activation sequence. As they approached their respective positions, the pedestals illuminated, responding to their unique chakra signatures and genetic markers. This is getting seriously ritualistic, Sakura commented, though her scientific curiosity overrode apprehension as she examined her designated pedestal. Most advanced technology appears ritualistic to cultures encountering it for the first time, Kai observed, already recording measurements from her position. Arthur C. Clarke's third law: any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Whatever it is, Naruto said, it feels right, connected, like we've found something that's been waiting for us specifically. He placed his hand on the central matrix, establishing direct connection with the system. Immediately, the entire chamber activated fully, star maps animating to show real-time dimensional positions, energy pathways throughout the structure illuminating in complex sequences, and the 5 pedestals projecting individual interfaces calibrated to each person's specific capabilities. Information flooded Naruto's consciousness, not overwhelming but perfectly organized, as though his mind had been prepared specifically for this connection. He saw the true purpose of the celestial seal with sudden clarity, not merely transformation for combat advantage, but comprehensive dimensional harmonization during periods of cosmic instability. The dimensions are naturally separated, he explained, sharing his downloaded understanding. But occasionally they drift closer, boundaries thinning during cosmic alignments. When that happens, a vessel is chosen to maintain equilibrium. Hinata stated with quiet certainty. Me now, Naruto corrected. Others before me, according to the historical record. The celestial seal activates in bloodlines with specific genetic markers during times of dimensional convergence. The Uzumaki clan, Sakura reasoned. Their UAL chakra and longevity must connect to these predispositions. Precisely, Kai confirmed, analyzing data flowing through her pedestal interface. This system is recording unprecedented dimensional thinning occurring now, far beyond normal cyclical patterns. Something is actively degrading the boundaries between realities. The alien incursions, Tamari concluded. They're not just responding to the celestial seal's activation, they're investigating the same boundary degradation. Some are, Naruto agreed, information continuing to integrate through his connection. Others are taking advantage of weakened barriers for their own purposes. The central matrix suddenly flashed warning indicators, red crystalline patterns interrupting the predominantly blue-green energy flows. A 3-dimensional map materialized above them, showing their home dimension with multiple incursion points highlighted in concerning patterns. That's not good, Naruto understated, recognizing the implications immediately. Dimensional breaches are accelerating exponentially. What took weeks before is now happening in days. Location data indicates a major incursion forming near our current position, Hinata reported, reading information from her pedestal interface. Approximately 3 kilometers northeast of the cave entrance. We need to return immediately, Tamari stated, practical tactical awareness overriding fascination with their discoveries. Wait, Kai interjected. The system contains transformation templates beyond what Naruto has naturally accessed. We should download additional options while connected. Is that possible? Naruto asked. Your pedestal interface indicates available transfer protocols, Kai confirmed. The system was designed for precisely this function, providing vessels with necessary tools during dimensional crises. Decision made, Naruto initiated the download sequence. The celestial seal illuminated brilliantly as new transformation templates integrated directly into its structure, each representing a different species with unique abilities potentially useful against dimensional threats. Transfer complete, he announced as the process finished. But we need to move now, that incursion is growing rapidly. They returned quickly through the crystalline structure, pathways illuminating to expedite their journey back to the dimensional doorway. Gaara waited precisely where they'd left him, expression revealing relief at their return despite his usual composure. Something's happening, he informed them immediately. Our perimeter sensors detected unusual energy signatures approximately 3 kilometers northeast. Desert patrols reported visual anomalies consistent with dimensional distortion. We know, Naruto confirmed. The Nexus provided real-time monitoring data. A major incursion is forming, larger than previous events. My sand scouts confirm movement heading this direction, Gaara added. Whatever came through appears to be tracking something with remarkable precision. The key, Naruto realized, feeling the crystalline artifact warm in his pocket. It's emitting a dimensional signature that would be easily detectable to advanced technology. We should secure it back in the Nexus, Hinata suggested. No time, Tamari countered. If hostiles are approaching this location specifically, remaining here endangers both the dimensional doorway and the village. Better to draw them away toward open desert where we can engage without collateral concerns. Agreed, Gaara decided, already signaling his shinobi to prepare departure. We'll use the sand skimmers to reach advantageous terrain, then assess the situation. They exited the cave system quickly, emerging into late afternoon desert heat. The previously clear sky now displayed unusual atmospheric disturbances, iridescent patterns rippling across blue expanse like oil on water, concentrated toward the northeast horizon. Visual confirmation of dimensional thinning, Kai observed, recording the phenomenon, far more extensive than previous incidents. Boarding the sand skimmers, they accelerated across the desert surface toward the disturbance. Naruto felt the celestial seal responding to proximity, warmth intensifying with each kilometer traversed, new transformation templates integrating fully into his awareness. Whatever's coming through, he told the others. I've got new options to deal with it. The Nexus provided transformation templates specifically designed for dimensional threats. Good, Tamari replied from her position piloting the second skimmer. Because that doesn't look friendly. She gestured toward the horizon, where the atmospheric disturbance had intensified dramatically. Space itself seemed to fold inward, creating a rapidly expanding portal at least 30 meters in diameter. Through its swirling boundary, massive mechanical forms became visible, clearly artificial constructs designed for combat functionality. Tekkadan war machines, Kai identified, expression grave as she recognized the threat. Military-grade combat robots from a weapons manufacturing dimension. Extremely dangerous and difficult to disable. Threat assessment, Gaara inquired, adjusting their course to maintain optimal distance while observing the emerging danger. Highest level, Kai replied without hesitation. In my dimension, a single Tekkadan can devastate an entire city. They're designed to adapt to opposition and execute their programming with absolute efficiency. And their programming would be? Sakura asked. Based on their approach vector. They're tracking the dimensional key. Kai's expression reflected professional concern rather than fear. Standard retrieval protocol would be to secure the target and eliminate witnesses. How many are we facing? Naruto asked, already assessing transformation options. Portal dimensions suggest a Class 3 deployment, Kai analyzed. Typically 5 to say. Then units with specialized functionality, sensor, heavy combat, aerial, infiltration, and command variants. As if confirming her assessment, mechanical forms emerged fully from the portal, 6 distinct. Chi robot designs ranging from 7 to 12 meters tall, their metallic bodies gleaming ominously in the desert sun. The largest unit, clearly serving command functions, scanned the horizon before foe. Using directly on their approaching skimmers. They've locked onto the key's signature, Kai warned. Evasive maneuvers recommended. Gaara and Tamari responded instantly, their sand skimmers veering in opposite directions just as energy weapons fired from the lead Tekkadan unit. Superheated plasma scorched the desert floor where they would have been, turning sand to glass on impact. We need distance to formulate strategy. Gaara decided, expertly piloting their skimmer behind a rock formation for temporary cover. Direct confrontation without preparation would be unwise. I'll buy us time, Naruto stated, already standing as the vehicle stabilized momentarily. Get everyone to that ridgeline and establish defensive positioning. I'll join you after assessing their capabilities. Before anyone could object, he leapt from the skimmer, the celestial seal already glowing beneath his clothing. Landing in a crouch on the desert floor, he selected one of the newly acquired transformate ion templates, something with both speed and durability. Transform. Emerald light enveloped him as molecular reconstruction occurred faster than ever before, the Nexus download having optimized his transformation process. When the light faded, Naruto had become a red armored humanoid with wheels instead of feet and aerodynamic structures integrated throughout his form. Fast track, he identified automatically. Knowledge downloading directly into his consciousness. Perfect for reconnaissance. With incredible acceleration, he circled the approaching Tekkadan units, moving so quickly he ARED is little more than a crimson blur across the desert landscape. The robots immediately adjusted their approach, weapons systems tracking his movement with increasing accuracy as their adaptive algorithms calculated his patterns. One unit, smaller than the others with specialized sensor arrays, projected a wide-spectrum energy net across his projected path. Naruto swerved at the last possible moment, the edge of the field barely missing his transformed body as he gathered valuable tactical information. Their weapon systems, movement capabilities, sensory range, communication protocols, all became clear through his high-speed observation. The command unit coordinated the others with remarkable efficiency, each robot fulfilling specialized functions in their retrieval mission. Having gathered sufficient data, Naruto accelerated toward the ridgeline where his companions had established defensive positioning. His transformation reverted moments after joining them, the information immediately shared. "They're adapting quickly," he reported. "Specialized functions just as Kai predicted. Command, heavy weapons, aerial, sensory, infiltration, and retrieval units working in coordinated deployment. Standard tactics won't work against that level of technological advantage. Then we employ non-standard approaches," Gaara replied calmly, sand gathering around him in preparation for battle. Combined capabilities across different combat specialties. Tamari had already positioned herself at the ridgeline's highest point, massive fan ready as she calculated wind patterns across the battlefield. Disruptive air currents can temporarily interfere with their sensory systems, she noted. Create openings for targeted strikes. Hinata activated her Byakugan, analyzing the approaching machines with her unique vision. They contain energy cores similar to chakra networks, precisely arranged nodal points. Gentle fist techniques might disrupt their systems if applied with sufficient force to penetrate their armor, which would require amplification beyond normal parameters, Sakura added, already channeling chakra to her fists in preparation. I can create initial breaches for Hinata's precision strikes. Their command protocols operate on dimensional frequencies similar to the celestial seal, Kai observed, consulting her instruments. Naruto, with the right transformation, you might be able to interfere with their coordination network. Understanding immediately, Naruto selected the appropriate template from his expanded options. Cover me while I transform again. Need something specifically for technological disruption. The others moved into protective formation around him as the Tekkadan units approached the ridgeline. Gaara initiated their defense, massive E-waves of sand rising to intercept incoming energy blasts while Tamari created wind currents that disrupted the robots' targeting systems. Transform, Naruto commanded, emerald light enveloping him once more. This transformation felt entirely different, his body becoming less solid, more energy-based as physical form converted to living technological consciousness. When the light faded, Naruto had become a green-black mechanical being with circuit patterns covering his body and a head consisting primarily of a circular display screen showing technological interfaces. Upgrade, he identified, voice carrying digital undertones. A galvanic mechamorph, perfect for technological manipulation. In this form, Naruto could literally merge with technology, enhancing and controlling it from within. He immediately recognized how to counter the Tekkadan coordination network, by establishing his own override frequencies keyed to the Celestial Seal's unique dimensional signature. The battle erupted across the desert landscape as the Tekkadan units reached their position. Gaara's sand techniques proved surprisingly effective against the mechanical attackers, microscopic particles infiltrating joint mechanisms and weapon ports, causing friction damage that conventional attacks could never achieve. Sakura demonstrated why she was considered among the strongest kunoichi in Konoha, her chalk raw enhanced strength creating impact craters in the desert floor that destabilized the robots' footing while her precise strikes damaged external armor plating. Each opening she created allowed Hinata to follow with gentle fist strikes to the internal systems Byakugan revealed, her normally insufficient combat strength perfectly complemented by Sakura's preliminary damage. Tamari controlled the battlefield's environmental conditions with masterful precision, her wind techniques creating both offensive pressure capable of redirecting smaller units and defensive barriers that dispersed energy weapon discharges. Her tactical awareness positioned her as the natural field commander, coordinating their diverse capabilities into cohesive strategy. Kai, though lacking combat jutsu, contributed UCIAL tactical information, identifying each robot's vulnerabilities and adaptive patterns from previous encounters in her home dimension. Her scientific knowledge provided targeting information that maximized their effectiveness against otherwise overwhelming technology. Naruto, in his mechamorph form, executed the central component of their strategy, extending technological tendrils that connect with the Tekkadan command unit's communication array. Rather than attempting to overpower their advanced systems, he introduced subtle errors into their coordination protocols, creating cascade failures that rendered their perfect synchronization increasingly erratic. For several intense minutes, the outcome remained uncertain. Superior technology balanced against the unexpected combination of Hinobi techniques and interdimensional knowledge. The desert landscape transformed under the conflict. Glass formations from energy weapons, massive sand structures from Gaara's techniques, impact craters from Sakura's strikes, and swirling patterns from Temari's wind manipulation. The tide turned when Naruto successfully compromised the command unit's primary systems. With their coordination network destabilized, the remaining Tekkadan units lost their tactical advantage. Individual robots continued fighting effectively, but without the hive mind efficiency that made them truly dangerous. Now, Tamari called, recognizing the critical moment with a commander's instinct. Their counterattack executed with perfect synchronization, Gaara's sand immobilizing the largest units, Sakura and Hina. Targeting exposed vulnerabilities with complementary techniques, Tamari creating pressure differentials that prevented adaptive countermeasures, and Naruto in mechamorph form introducing terminal Eastem failures into their operating cores. One by one, the Tekkadan units deactivated, some explosively as safety protocols failed, others simply powering down as critical systems collapsed. Within minutes, the formidable mechanical force had been neutralized, scattered across the battlefield like fallen metallic giants. As the final unit deactivated, Naruto's transformation reverted, leaving him breathing heavily but satisfied with their victory. The others gathered around him, each showing fatigue but no serious injuries, their complementary capabilities having protected one another throughout the intense combat. That was, Tamari began, uncharacteristically searching for words. Effective, Gaara supplied simply, though pride for their collaborative achievement showed subtly in his expression. Remarkable synchronization between diverse combat methodologies, Kai added with professional appreciation. I've studied hundreds of planetary defense systems, and few achieve that level of adaptive integration. Hinata deactivated her Byakugan, the veins around her eyes receding as she carefully scanned Naruto for injuries. Are you all right, Naruto-kun? Multiple transformations in rapid succession must be taxing. I'm good, he assured her, though the fatigue in his voice belied complete truth. The Nexus download seems to have optimized the transformation process, less strain than before. Sakura approached, medical scanner already active as she assessed his condition professionally. Your chakra pathways show interesting adaptations, more efficient energy utilization patterns. The seal seems to be optimizing your biological systems to accommodate transformation demands. Like training a muscle, Naruto suggested, rolling his shoulders to relieve lingering tension. Essentially, Sakura agreed, though on a cellular level rather than just muscular development. Gaara directed his shinobi to secure the deactivated robots while establishing perimeter surveillance for additional threats. The dimensional portal had closed following the Tekkadan units' deployment, but experience had taught them all that stability couldn't be assumed. We should return to the village, he decided. This site remains vulnerable, and these mechanical units require secure containment for analysis. Agreed, Naruto nodded, glancing toward the cave entrance in the distance. Though the dimensional nexus should remain accessible now that it's been activated. We can return when circumstances permit deeper exploration. As they prepared to depart, Kai approached one of the fallen Tekkadan units. Scanning its systems with her specialized equipment. Something's odd about their programming parameters, she noted, expression concerned. These units weren't just tracking the dimensional key. What else? Tamari asked sharply, tactical mind immediately alert for additional threats. According to these command protocols, Kai continued, they were specifically targeting Uzumaki genetic markers. Not just the key, but Naruto himself, or rather, anyone carrying specific genetic sequences. The Uzumaki bloodline, Naruto realized. But why? There's nothing special about. He stopped mid-sentence as new understanding clicked into place, connections between their recent discoveries suddenly forming a coherent pattern. The blood, he said slowly. Uzumaki blood co. Nt Ain's genetic markers specifically compatible with the celestial seal. That's why it activates in our bloodline during dimensional convergence periods. Which means there might be others with the same potential, Hinata reasoned. Quick mind following his logic. If any remain, Gaara noted solemnly. The Uzumaki clan was scattered generations ago, survivors dispersed across the 5 nations. A sudden pulse from the celestial seal interrupted their discussion, not painful but insistent, like recognition of something significant. Naruto placed his hand over the warmth emanating through his jacket. What is it? Sakura asked, noting his reaction. The seal is responding to something, he replied, turning slowly as he tracked the sensation. Something familiar. His focus settled on a distant rock formation barely visible on the horizon. There, he indicated with certainty. Approximately 5 kilometers west, something with an energy signature resonant with the celestial seal. Another artifact, Tamari suggested. No, Naruto shook his head, certainty growing though he couldn't explain its source. Someone, a person with chakra that resonates with the seal. Another Uzumaki, Hinata suggested. Possibly. Naruto confirmed, the seal's response intensifying as he focused in that direction. We need to investigate before returning to the village. Gaara considered this development, then nodded decisively. Tamari, take our primary forces and the secured Tekkadan units back to Suna. I'll accompany Naruto's team to investigate this potential contact. They Seppa, rated accordingly, Tamari leading most of the Sand Shinobi back toward the village with their mechanical cargo, while Naruto, Gaara, and the Konoha team redirected toward the mysterious chakra signature. 2 elite Sand Jonin remained with the Cage, providing security support without overcrowding their investigative approach. As they traveled across the desert terrain, the celestial seal's Riso Nance grew stronger, pulsing with recognition toward whatever or whoever awaited them. Naruto felt strange certainty developing, not knowledge but instinct, as though the seal itself guided him towards something important. There, Hinata indicated, Byakugan active as they approached the rock formation. A cave entrance, concealed behind those boulders. And inside, a chakra signature unlike any I've seen, except. Except what? Sakura prompted. Except Naruto-kun's, Hinata finished, surprise evident in her voice. Similar resonance patterns, though configured differently. Definitely human, but with unusual energy distribution concentrated around what appears to be a sealing array. They approached cautiously, Gaara's sand moving ahead to secure the area while Naruto focused on the eye. Increasingly strong resonance between his seal and whatever awaited inside. The cave entrance had been deliberately concealed, natural boulders arranged to appear random while actually forming a protective barrier. Recent adjustments to these rocks, Kai observed, examining scuff patterns in the sand. Someone's been maintaining this concealment within the past few days. Gaara created an opening with precise sand manipulation, revealing a narrow passage leading into darkness. Cool air flowed outward, carrying scents of minerals and something less expected, medicinal herbs and ink. Someone's definitely living here, Sakura noted, recognizing the distinctive aromas of healing preparations similar to those she used. They proceeded cautiously, Hinata's Byakugan guiding them through the winding passage toward the chakra source. The tunnel eventually opened into a modest cavern that had been converted into simple living quarters, bedroll, cooking area, storage containers, and most notably, a small desk covered with scrolls and sealing materials. At the chamber's center stood a young woman approximately their age, red hair falling in uneven layers around a face set in determined lines. Wire-framed glasses perched on her nose, behind which unusual red eyes watched them with wary calculation. Most significantly, her right arm bore exposed sealing arrays similar to those on Naruto's abdomen. Though less extensive and differently configured, Recognition flashed across her features as she focused on Naruto, specifically on the patterns visible through his partially unzipped jacket. Her stance shifted from defensive to shocked disbelief. "Impossible," she whispered, staring at the celestial seal's distinctive patterns. "You're Uzumaki. So are you," Naruto replied with instinctive certainty. The seal practically humming with recognition. "We're family." The woman, clearly an Uzumaki by both appearance and chakra signature, seemed caught between flight and fascination. "How did you find me?" "I've been careful. Masked my chakra signature, avoided villages, kept moving. The celestial seal led us to you," Naruto explained, gesturing toward the patterns visible beneath his clothing. "It recognized something in your chakra." Her eyes widened further as she processed this information, gaze shifting between Naruto and his companions with rapid assessment. "The celestial seal, you know what it is." "We're learning," he replied honestly. "And I think you might be able to help us understand more." "I'm Karen," she offered finally, decision made though wariness remained evident in her posture. "And you're right, we're family. Distant cousins, most likely, given the clan's dispersal patterns." "Naruto Uzumaki," he introduced himself, then gestured to his companions. "This is Gaara, the Kekkei of Sunagaku, Hinata Hyuga and Sakura Haruno from Konoha. And Kai Green, who's a specialist from very far away." Karen studied each person with remarkable intensity. Her sensory abilities clearly exceptional even by shinobi standards. "Your chakra signatures are unique. Especially hers," she nodded toward Kai. "Not chakra at all, but something similar in fundamental structure." "You're a sensor type," Hinata observed. "The best," Karen stated without false modesty. "It's why I've survived this long on my own. That and these," she gestured toward the sealing arrays on her arm. "Family techniques, preserved through oral tradition despite everything." "Why are you living in a cave in the desert?" Sakura asked directly, medical training making her concerned about the sparse conditions. Karen's expression hardened slightly. "Because certain parties became very interested in Uzumaki genetic material approximately 2 months ago. Hunters with Unasu, Al abilities and equipment started tracking specific chakra signatures across the 5 nations. When the dimensional thinning began accelerating," Kai noted, connecting this timeline to their established chronology. "The what?" Karen asked sharply. "It's complicated," Naruto began. "I specialize in complicated," Karen countered immediately. "Especially concerning Uzumaki sealing techniques and unusual energy phenomena." Over the next hour, they explained the situation, the celestial seal's awakening, dimensional portals, alien incursions, and their discoveries in the ancient nexus. Karen listened with remarkable focus, occasionally asking precise technical questions that revealed sophisticated understanding of sealing mechanics beyond even Naruto's recently acquired knowledge. "So the legends were true," she finally said, removing her glasses to rub tired eyes. "The celestial archive activating during convergence cycles. My grandmother told stories, but I always assumed they were metaphorical rather than literal." "You know about this?" Naruto asked eagerly. "Fragments," Karen admitted. "After Uzushiogeku's destruction, knowledge scattered with survivors. My family praise RVED certain traditions, primarily concerning blood-sealing techniques and sensing abilities. The patterns appearing on your body match ancient descriptions of the star vessel, who maintains boundaries during celestial alignment periods." "That's more than we knew before finding the nexus," Sakura noted. "There's more," Karen continued, retrieving a small scroll from among her possessions. 2 months ago, when hunters first appeared tracking Uzumaki chakra signatures, I recovered this from one of them after neutralizing their pursuit." She opened the scroll carefully, revealing diagrams depicting the celestial seal in remarkable detail, including projection patterns for its eventual complete form that matched what Naruto had seen in the dimensional nexus. "They're specifically targeting Uzumaki survivors," she explained grimly. "Anyone with genetic compatibility with the celestial seal. Most aren't even aware of their heritage after generations of dispersal and intermarriage. They want to prevent additional vessels from awakening," Gaara surmised, quick strategic mind identifying the logical objective. "Or capture them for study," Kai added. "The celestial seal reprise NTS unprecedented dimensional technology. Many entities would consider it valuable beyond calculation." Which explains why I've been living in caves, Karen concluded dryly. Uzumaki survival instincts run strong. Naruto studied his newly discovered clan member with growing appreciation for her resilience and intelligence. Despite harsh circumstances, she'd survived through wits and specialize D abilities, traits that characterized the Uzumaki clan throughout its history. You should come with us, he decided suddenly. Tsuna, it's safer than out here alone, and your knowledge could be UCIAL to understanding what we're facing. Karen hesitated, ingrained survival instincts warring with evident desire for security and connection. Concentration makes us easier targets, she noted pragmatically. Though your protection capabilities are impressive. There's something else, Hinata interjected gently. Your sealing arrays appear deteriorated at the cellular level. Without proper maintenance, they could destabilize dangerously. Karen glanced at her arm with grudging acknowledgement. You noticed that. Your visual abilities must be exceptional. She sighed, decision crystallizing. You're right. I need resources to properly stabilize these seals. And if dimensional barriers are truly thinning as you describe, then Uzumaki expertise is exactly what we need, Naruto finished for her. With arrangements made for Karen to gather her limited possessions, they prepared to return to Sunagaku. The day's discoveries had dramatically expanded their understanding while simultaneously revealing how much remained unknown. About the celestial seal, about dimensional threats, and about the Uzumaki legacy connecting them all. As they traveled back across the desert, Naruto found himself surrounded by an unlikely but increasingly cohesive team. A Kekkei whose understanding of sealing rivaled ancient masters, a Hyuga whose vision revealed what others could never see, a medical genius whose knowledge bridged science and chakra theory, an anthropologist from another dimension whose scientific perspective provided crucial context, and now an Uzumaki censor whose specialized abilities and clan knowledge filled critical gaps in their understanding. The celestial seal continued its steady expansion across his torso, patterns growing more complex with each passing day. Whether by cosmic design or remarkable coincidence, the vessel had found precisely the companions needed for the challenges ahead, each bringing unique strengths to a situation with implications far beyond their individual concerns. Dimensions continued converging, boundaries thinning between worlds never meant to merge. But for the first time since the seal's awakening, Naruto felt genuine optimism about their prospects. Not because the threat had diminished, but because the response had grown stronger through connections forged across bloodlines, villages, and dimensions themselves. Blue, D and chakra, the fundamental elements of shinobi existence, now linked in unprecedented patterns across realities themselves. Chapter 3 End. The End. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.